Welcome to Ichiraku Ramen, and thank you for joining me for another journey into the world of shinobi. Before we begin, I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who listens, supports the channel, and enjoys these stories. We wouldn't have hit over 2,000 subscribers without you. I also want to let you know the Discord server you voted for is ready. You can suggest stories, vote on what gets narrated next, or just hang out and talk. It's free to join, my way of giving back for getting us here. The link is in the description. Today's story is the final part of Uzumaki Kombat. Summary. Ages ago, Shao Kahn and Sindel had a child, a boy presumed dead, but secretly spirited away to Earthrealm by Lord Raiden. That child grew up to become the legendary sage of 6 paths generations later. His legacy lives on in a young, abused Jinchuuriki named Naruto Uzumaki. Ages later, when Shao Kahn discovers that his royal bloodline survives in the Hidden Leaf village, he descends upon Konoha to claim what is his. Ripped from a village that only showed him hatred, Naruto is brought to the savage court of Outworld. As the true heir to the emperor, Naruto is about to learn that peace is a lie, and there is only combat. This is a fan-made story inspired by the world of Naruto. All characters and the original universe belong to their respective creators. This narration is created for entertainment purposes as part of a transformative storytelling experience. The story itself was written by VFSNAKE, and full credit goes to the original author. If you would like to read the original version, the link to the story is included in the video description below. Also, if you like my content and want to keep up with future updates, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to share it with your friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy. Chapter 9: The Final Straw. Naruto sat on his throne in the Fire Country capital, as he looked at the Kunoichi standing right in front of him, and how she represented a surprisingly an all-Kunoichi, only shinobi-based village that existed just outside of what used to be named Water Country before he conquered it. This woman was of average height, fair-skinned from what Naruto saw, and green eyes with black hair tied in a high ponytail. Her form-fitting outfit was that of a Kunoichi, which consisted of a black forehead protector, and was wearing her village's form-fitting Kunoichi uniform designed to be effective in combat, as well as seducing the opposite sex when required. It was gray-colored with a right shoulder guard, gray gloves, and opening in her shirt, which revealed some of her sizable cleavage to him. The last part more than likely meant to distract him at times while they were talking in this meeting and throw him off guard. Shame the woman was competing against the likes of Anko, Shizune, Shiva, Mei, Hana, Hinata, a still-in-denial Tenten, and one Sabaka no Temari from Suna, to name a few. "You came all this way to see me? For what purpose?" asked Naruto, as he looked at the Kunoichi, who first had introduced herself as Shizuka of the Nadeshiko village, and was seeking this audience to see him in person. "I am here on behalf of my village to seek out a possible alliance with your ever-growing empire, Great Emperor. Word has reached us by our sources throughout what was once Water Country of your many victories in battle and your long-standing campaign to unite the divided world under your banner. My people have also heard of how Wind Country fell to your empire a year and a half ago, with tensions having risen within Lightning and Earth Country. It is only a matter of time before our territory around our village has been absorbed into your empire or by a rival if, and when the war between the other countries starts," explained Shizuka, with Naruto smiling in amusement. "You facts are a bit inaccurate regarding Wind Country. It didn't exactly fall like some of the other territories when I absorbed it into my empire. The transition was for the most part that of a peaceful one, as the people there were being controlled by that hedonistic tyrant they called a Wind Daimyo, who cared little for their suffering, and led his own shinobi village slowly to be bled dry in the process. I quickly removed him from his seat of power and replaced the man with someone I know that would treat the people formerly of Wind Country properly. Who better to rule over the people than the new Kazekage's own brother?" replied Naruto, with the Kunoichi nodding slightly in understanding. "My apologizes, Naruto-sama. I am merely relaying what my village was told about your conquests," said Shizuka, with Naruto's smile never leave him. "I understand, though a sudden alliance with your village seems to be a bit premature at this point and a tad suspicious to me. Why are you really here, my dear?" questioned Naruto curiously, with Shizuka not answering at first before she vanished from his sight one moment and was in his face the next. "Nadeshiko style. Hardliner Gale Fist," exclaimed Shizuka, as she tried to send her right fist, now covered in wind-natured chakra, into Naruto. And what happened next surprised the kunoichi. Naruto caught her fist with his hand and didn't look the least bit hurt in the process. "That wasn't very nice, Shizuka-san," remarked Naruto, as he looked into her shocked green eyes, and they were soon surrounded by shokin with various weapons in hand. None of them looked pleased. Not one to surrender so easily, Shizuka tried to continue attacking the young emperor with her remaining free limbs in the hopes of defeating this large figure still sitting on his throne and still had an amused smile on his face. The past 3 years since his mission to Snow Now turned Spring Country had been good to Naruto, as he trained hard, fought hard, and wasn't a pushover to anyone. Despite the one hand holding onto her fist, Naruto was able to either block or dodge any physical blow she threw at him. After a moment, Naruto grabbed the offending well-muscled leg trying to hit him in the face and shoved the woman back. Within moments, Shizuka was off the ground, dodging the various shokin bodyguards trying to subdue or hurt her before preparing the kunai in her hands. "Nadeshiko style, deep crimson dance performance," exclaimed Shizuka before she began throwing every kunai in her possession at Naruto with deadly accuracy. Unfortunately, she did not count for Naruto's speed to outmatch that of Shizuka's barrage weapons and get within striking distance of her. Something the Nadeshiko kunoichi now learned the hard way, as she was punched hard in the stomach and then thrown into a nearby pillar with enough force to cause an body imprint. When she did collapse to the ground, several shokin were upon her and held the kunoichi down with their immense weight of muscle mass. "Shall I end her life, my emperor?" asked one shokin with his massive axe being held in 2 of his forearms and ready to deliver the killing blow. "Not yet. Not until she answers me the question I want answered," replied Naruto, as he walked over to the downed kunoichi and saw her looking up at him. "You want to know why I attacked?" stated Shizuka with Naruto nodding. "It is the tradition of my shinobi village to seek out the strongest male we can find in hopes of being defeated in combat before taking the said male back to our village to marry into it. It allows us to produce only the strongest kunoichi in our village where women hold most if not all the power in it," explained Shizuka with Naruto raising an eyebrow behind his helmeted head. "So in the off chance I said no to your proposed alliance, you would grab me through the traditions of your village and use me to produce offspring with you," concluded Naruto with Shizuka nodding. "I am not really fond of this tradition. I was in love with a man, but he was killed, and I didn't want to be with anyone else," replied Shizuka sadly with Naruto narrowing his eyes at her. "So you were basically pressured in to have this meeting with me by your mentor in the hopes of getting over your loss," concluded Naruto with Shizuka nodding. "My mentor also reached an agreement with Jiraiya of the Sannin some time ago that I would be married off to one of his students. Since you are currently considered his only student," added Shizuka with Naruto's eyes widening before they narrowed. "I see. It appears Jiraiya failed to mention that to me," remarked Naruto with his mind already coming up with ways to cause his godfather untold amounts of pain. Elsewhere, Jiraiya shivered in fear for a moment before looking around to see if anyone was around him while peeping at some women in Konoha's hot springs. "I sense a disturbance in the ways of perversity, as if I would soon be surrounded by a great evil, feeling incredible pain and humiliation before my screams that followed it were suddenly silenced," thought Jiraiya before he shivered once more and wondered if his actions in the past were coming back to bite him in the ass. Back with Naruto. "Release her," commanded Naruto with the shokin and Shizuka herself looking at him in surprise. "My emperor?" asked one shokin holding her down. "She is not my enemy. By the traditions made by this woman's village she follows, I am now binding her to me in terms of marriage," replied Naruto with the shokin looking at him and then at Shizuka before they released her from their grip. "So by tradition, I am to be your new wife," concluded Shizuka with a sense of defeat in her voice. "Your heart is closed off. The death of the man you loved has left a deep scar there that has yet to heal," replied Naruto, as he saw the woman look away, and it was clear that he was right. "What do you know of scars on one's heart?" questioned Shizuka coldly while getting up and found herself pinned to the pillar she hit earlier by Naruto with his hand now on her throat. "I know more about scars to one's heart than you can imagine. I'm sure you've heard the rumors," replied Naruto with Shizuka nodding quickly. "I have. They say you were betrayed by those close to you." That Leaf Village betrayed your father's dying wish, and that they tried to control you through years of abuse when growing up, whispered Shizuka while Naruto nodded since that was the rumor, and it was true. Correct. You cannot imagine the pain I felt from that betrayal. The pain in my heart. My very soul that I had been betrayed by those I once trusted. I don't blame you for shutting off your heart, but do not believe for a single second that you are the only one with scars there, and that no one else around you has had it worse, replied Naruto before releasing his grip on the woman. I'm sorry, said Shizuka, as she got off the ground shakily, and was surprisingly held firmly by Naruto to help her stand firmly on the ground. It's all right, Shizuka-chan. Your village's tradition aside, I think we should get to know each other before going through this marriage now between us, and show that one can indeed learn to love a second time, replied Naruto, as he was actually impressed with her in terms of fighting skills, and even fighting him despite everything that just happened. Perhaps, though I'm surprised that Jiraiya-sama failed to inform you of our arrangement between the two of us, commented Shizuka with Naruto grinning at her, and it was now making the kunoichi blush. I think I know why Ero-sennin didn't tell me anything regarding our arranged marriage, and make no mistake, Shizuko-chan. The old pervert will learn a very valuable lesson in informing his last remaining student of something important like this, replied Naruto with a cruel chuckle leaving his mouth. As your future wife, can I assist in creating the means of teaching Jiraiya-sen such a valuable lesson, my husband? Offered Shizuka while smiling, as she had heard a great deal about Jiraiya's perverted tendencies, and felt it was her duty to females if not to kunoichi everywhere to make the man suffer for peeping on women. Consider it an early wedding present, replied Naruto smoothly with Shizuka smiling and blushing further at the same time. Konoha 2 weeks later. Uzumaki Karen was alone, her office assigned to her by Tsunade, as she was working on medical reports and going over the recent casualty list from shinobi injured in the field needing medical attention. It wasn't easy working here in this hospital, as Karen found herself not being liked by the civilians, and even some of the shinobi in Konoha due to her very distant blood relationship to Naruto. Even those she healed stooped so low to whispering snide remarks when they thought Karen was out of earshot. Unfortunately, for them anyway, Karen heard them and made a mental note to mix blood-thinning pills into their medication so they couldn't get it up when out on a hot date. Nothing helped ruin a man's image of being male than being unable to perform, and the female he's with lets it get out about such limpness. Speaking of limp things, one Uchiha Sasuke walked into her office, his face sporting that of a confident smirk, like he owned the hospital, if not the village itself, and stopped right in front of Karen's desk with his arms crossed in a superior manner. Again, his posture was all some display of fake power and authority to impress the red-haired Uzumaki. It didn't impress Karen, as Sasuke was as impressive as a flesh-eating parasite that one gets from peeing in water of the Amazon jungle and required surgery no one wanted to get. What do you want, Sasuke? I'm busy, asked Karen, as she didn't bother looking up at him with any interest, which the Uchiha caught, and was forcing himself not to scowl at what he believed was an insult to all things Uchiha. I'm here for you. I want to take you out on a date, answered Sasuke with Karen again, not looking up at him. Not interested. Go ask one of your fangirls. They're just itching to go out with you and get into your pants, replied Karen while she kept writing her report. I'm not interested in them. I'm interested in you. Now get up and follow me. We're going out, commanded Sasuke while turning slightly, and yet saw Karen was not moving from her seat. I'm not your girlfriend, Sasuke. I'm not some submissive woman who doesn't know how the world works when compared to the inside of a house. I'm not a housewife, much less yours, but a kunoichi, a student of Senju Tsunade herself, and I'm not going to be pushed around by someone whose ego is many times bigger than his microscopic dick, replied Karen with Sasuke snarling at her. How dare you insult me? I'm an Uchiha, an elite, trained by some of the best jounin in Konoha. I will one day take the mantle of Hokage in a few years' time and rule Konoha with an iron fist, exclaimed Sasuke angrily, with Karen now looking up at him, only with skeptical eyes, and it was clear she didn't believe the Uchiha. How are you going to be Hokage? Only the Hokage can nominate their chosen successor, and in the event that doesn't happen, the Fire Daimyo, or in this case Naruto, would have to agree to any nominations. You don't really think that Naruto is going to agree to such a nomination, much less Tsunade making such an announcement in the first place? Are you on some kind of outdated medication? Questioned Karen with Sasuke, smirking at her. There are ways around that. If you do what I say, listen to my every word, and help me assert my authority in this village, I can promise you the benefits will be most pleasant, replied Sasuke with a lustful-eyed look to him that made Karen frown. If I didn't know any better, I would say Sasuke was planning to do something to Tsunade to make her agree to such a nomination. But what? Is he going to use his Sharingan? No. His Sharingan would have to reach a certain level for that kind of high-level Jinjutsu to manipulate her. Sasuke doesn't have that kind of Sharingan, and the other person aside from Uchiha Itachi is, thought Karen before her eyes widened, something Sasuke noted and mistook for her giving into the temptation of the power he offered. So you finally have seen the light. Good. Now come on. We're having our date right now, commanded Sasuke yet again. But Karen didn't move to follow him out the door like he no doubt planned, and hoped she would. He's going to have Kakashi use his eye on her. She'll never see it coming. Even if I told Naruto, it couldn't be proven Sasuke was involved aside from my word against his simply from the fact he's here, and with no proof of Kakashi using his eye, thought Karen, as she saw Sasuke go from looking pleased to angry, and move to grab her. Listen here, bitch. One way or another, you will be mine, and I will not stand for your resistance against me, exclaimed Sasuke as he grabbed Karen by the arm and lifted her out of the chair. Right before Karen kneed him in the stomach, grabbed the offending arm, and broke it in 3 places before kicking him in the face. Acting quickly, Karen ran out of her office and out the nearest window to leap through the rooftops to get to the Hokage Tower. She knew if Tsunade wasn't warned soon, Kakashi would make his move and put the woman under a suggestive Jinjutsu using his Sharingan. With Sasuke being made Hokage, if that ever happened, Karen knew everyone that supported Naruto would either be killed in secret by the Uchiha or driven out of Konoha like they were lepers. Friction between Naruto and Sasuke would cause Konoha to have its funding pulled, weakened by Naruto. But Sasuke having the shinobi loyal to him committing horrible missions that even some S-ranked missing Nin didn't do, making Konoha look like a total cesspool that only bred dishonorable shinobi not worth hiring unless it was for the most cruelest of acts. And this sudden infighting would make Naruto's enemies try to use this against him. Hell, Sasuke would side with Naruto's enemies if it meant taking him down and possibly taking over as daimyo of Fire Country. She couldn't allow anything like that to happen. I have to warn her. If Sasuke is in my office, chances are Kakashi is, or soon will be in Hokage-sama's office preparing to reveal his Sharingan when she's not looking, thought Karen, as she was almost there, and looked behind her to an injured Sasuke closing the gap between them. Get back here, exclaimed Sasuke, not caring if anyone heard him, and was clutching his broken arm. Almost there, thought Karen, as she had jumped at the last second, barely avoiding Sasuke, who had finally caught up to her, and had tried to stop the red-haired Uzumaki from reaching Tsunade. Karen ran up the base of the tower, Sasuke trying to keep up, but the Uchiha's anger and frustration combined with his lack of doing the tree-walking exercise to keep his chakra control up had proven to be his downfall. He barely made it a quarter up the tower before the Uchiha went down like a stone, while Karen kept going up and up until she finally reached the window of Tsunade's office. And just in time, too, as Tsunade had her back turned from Kakashi, and the Jounin now had a hand on his headband with his Sharingan eye exposed. Fortunately, just as Tsunade was about to turn around, Karen threw a smoke bomb at the Jounin's feet, and making the man close both his eyes. Karen? What are you doing? Demanded Tsunade, as she coughed a little when seeing Karen at her window, and saw the red-headed Uzumaki glaring at Kakashi. He was going to use his Sharingan eye on you, Hokage-sama. Look at his headband. It's up and his eye was exposed before I threw the smoke bomb at him, explained Karen with Tsunade, looking from Karen to Kakashi, and saw that his headband was indeed up, while sensing more chakra than usual had been channeled into the Sharingan eye despite the eye now being closed. You bastard, exclaimed Tsunade, as she punched Kakashi through a wall and saw him fall to the ground unconscious. Kakashi was going to use his Sharingan eye on you in order to appoint Uchiha Sasuke as your chosen successor as Hokage. I just came from my office at the hospital where the Baka practically bragged he was going to be the next Hokage and that you were going to make it happen. I quickly concluded only a high-level Jinjutsu made from an advanced Sharingan had a remote chance of causing it, and since Sasuke, can't do it along with his brother being in the Akatsuki, explained Karen with Tsunade nodding. The only other person with a Sharingan is Kakashi, finished Tsunade while walking over to the downed Jounin and grabbed his face with her thumb covering the Sharingan, while putting pressure there in order to get the point across to the now awakening Jounin that she wasn't fucking around. Hokage-sama, protested Kakashi as he saw her face and the fact her thumb was in a place he didn't want. You have a lot of explaining to do, Kakashi. Depending on what you say to me next may or may not determine whether I kill you, or simply remove the Sharingan eye in your skull for your treasonous actions, threatened Tsunade, with Kakashi looking at her now in fear. I was only trying to do what was necessary to ensure the Uchiha clan thrived in the leaf once again, answered Kakashi, while feeling more pressure on the eye Obito gave him long ago. By using me? By manipulating me with your Sharingan? Or at least trying to manipulate me in order to make Sasuke the next Hokage? Demanded Tsunade, with Kakashi wincing in pain. He needed an anchor to stay loyal. The respect of the Uchiha clan has weakened a lot since Naruto changed things 3 years ago. I thought Sasuke becoming the next Hokage would be able to turn things around for him and the Uchiha clan. I owed it to Obito to save his clan from being destroyed like this, answered Kakashi with Tsunade scowling at him. And what about Naruto? You knew he was your sensei's son long before what happened years ago. You knew he was one of the last among the Uzumaki bloodline. So why side with the Uchiha over him? Demanded Tsunade with Kakashi wincing. The Sandaime Hokage told me that while Minato's seal was perfect in terms of design, he could not be certain how well it would work as time passed, and said to keep my distance from him. That he would ensure Naruto was taken care of and would be manageable until I got him for a student when older. After seeing how lacking the boy was in skill, I came to the conclusion that Sensei and his wife's greatness died with them, and that their son was not worth protecting because he was so weak, replied Kakashi before screaming out in pain, while Tsunade snarled at him. Liar. Naruto lacked any so-called talent because his education was rigged to fail, you stupid baka. Now look at my godson. Still think he's weak? You hated Naruto from the start, did you? What better way to screw him over than to have Sasuke becoming the next Hokage and ruin this village from within just when some of it was showing signs of value and saving? Not anymore. As of this very moment, you are under arrest for treason, Hitaki, and will have that eye removed before it's destroyed before your other eye as part of your punishment. That is a public execution, declared Tsunade, with Kakashi trying to break her grip on his head, but the grip she had on him was unbreakable, and it was clear no amount of pleading would change the woman's mind. Now there was only the matter of the Uchiha, and remind everyone what it means to cross the Hokage of Konoha. With Uchiha Sasuke, the once most loved shinobi of his generation, in his mind, Uchiha Sasuke was now currently running through the trees. Beside him as backup were the few remaining former root shinobi Danzo had before things went to bad for the old Warhawk 3 years ago. They had not been around Danzo when the man died fighting Naruto, and what remained were soon rounded up by shinobi loyal to Tsunade, with this small handful being the only ones that escaped her notice. This was done as a contingency plan made by the dead Warhawk in the event he needed to flee the village, and required a few spies among the ranks to provide key intel on different events that happened following his exodus. Now I am on the run. Me, an Uchiha, who was born for greatness and meant to rule over Konoha, is being attacked by those traitors. They follow the Senju's command to bring me back to face her so-called brand of justice, when they should be following me. Well, I'll show them. I'll show them all. I will raise an army of missing Nin, who will follow my every command simply because I am an Uchiha, and take Konoha back from that bitch of a Senju to make Konoha the greatness of world under my vision, thought Sasuke, as he began to scheme how to gather his army of shinobi, attack Konoha, and make Tsunade fall before him in front of everyone in the village. His musings were ruined, however, as his forces were attacked from multiple sides, and had revealed themselves to be the former Sound Four. Of course, now they were called the Four Gates of the Elemental Emperor and were considered his key bodyguards when he was out of the capital. You were foolish to try what you did, Uchiha, stated Naruto, as he was behind Sasuke when the Uchiha had turned around to see who was attacking the former root shinobi, and saw the fool turn around again to look at him with a snarl on his face. I had every right. Konoha was forgetting what the Uchiha clan did for Konoha. They were forgetting our proud heritage and how we helped make the village great. exclaimed Sasuke with Naruto letting out a cruel chuckle. Not so fun when the shoe is on the other foot, is it, Uchiha? How all the people seem to just forget about you, as they did me, and the Uzumaki clan. How they throw away your heritage like it was worthless and should be forgotten for all time. To be consumed by the sands of time, remarked Naruto with Sasuke growling at him. Your so-called clan was weak. That's why they fell to so many shinobi in the Second Shinobi War. Sasuke shot back, but was surprised that Naruto laughed at him and was not the least bit insulted. Are you really that stupid? The Uzumaki clan was hardly weak. It took an alliance of 3 major shinobi villages plus 2 minor ones in order to make my clan fall. Even then, such a thing only happened because Konoha didn't send help when the Uzukage at the time requested aid. When Whirlpool fell, the losses of the enemy were so great that they had to fall back to their villages, or else they risked being flanked by Konoha and Suna before being wiped out. The Uchiha clan was killed by a single person from within the clan, and even then, that is the official version, replied Naruto with Sasuke frowning at him. What do you mean, official version? Demanded Sasuke with Naruto smirking. Come now, Sasuke. You must have suspected something after all this time. That there was something off regarding Itachi's actions that night. The man is strong, no question there, but he wasn't that strong to kill his entire clan and not be detected by Leaf Shinobi in the village itself. Don't you find it a tad odd that your entire clan, except for yourself, were all killed so violently, and yet not a single alarm was raised during the entire time it happened? How could Uchiha Itachi kill so many of his kin near dusk into the dead of night, and yet not one single shinobi of the Leaf raised an alarm during the entire killing process? A killing process that showed signs of him not being so quiet when the deed was done. Questioned Naruto with Sasuke's eyes narrowing. Are you saying that Konoha had a hand in my clan's annihilation? That Itachi did it, and Konoha was in league with him? Accused Sasuke with Naruto smirking. I have all the Sandaime Hokage's memories from when I took Soul. Not only did the fool ignore the request made by Whirlpool for allied reinforcements, he also gave Itachi the order to have your clan wiped out, and arranged for the shinobi of Konoha to ignore what was about to happen until much later when your brother had a nice long head start out of the village, answered Naruto with Sasuke gritting his teeth in rage. You're lying, protested Sasuke with Naruto chuckling. About this? Why would I lie? Does it make you question your belief in wanting to kill Itachi? I imagine it does. The mere fact that it's the truth makes this moment all the more sweeter, replied Naruto with Sasuke snarling and yelling rage before charging him. Only for Naruto to move behind the Uchiha and look at his opponent with mock pity. Shut up. I don't believe you, exclaimed Sasuke while Naruto laughed and dodged some more with the Uchiha getting increasingly angry. How does it feel, Sasuke? How does it feel to know you were betrayed? Betrayed by the village in almost the same manner I was? Do you know why the civilian council spoiled you? It's because they all hoped after you eventually reached that maximum level of what they considered hierarchical power, you would in turn give them a great deal back to them, and basically be set for life thanks to your influence. The Shinobi Council was the same way before I killed them and Danzo for their hand in things. Those root shinobi that were behind you, they were among those that helped kill your kin that Itachi would not kill. And do you know what's even worse? Those former root shinobi that were with you that my elemental gates have just taken down were among those Danzo ordered to harvest your clan's eyes from the bodies of your kin to be grafted onto an arm, so he could use them to control any of the Biju or Jinchuuriki he came in contact with, replied Naruto before he shoulder-tackled Sasuke with enough force to send the Uchiha right through several trees before bouncing on the ground hard 3 times. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to rip your heart out and claim your throne before I use my newfound power and authority to liquidate the village. Once I kill everyone I don't like, I will make the others slaves, and all the strong women will be made my concubines to be made to have my offspring whether they like it or not, bellowed Sasuke with blood leaking from his mouth. That will be hard to do if you're dead, Uchiha, remarked Naruto with Sasuke charging up a Rikiri in his hand. Not if I kill you with this first. Do you recognize it? Kakashi showed it to me during the last 3 years. With this, I can pierce the flesh of just about anyone, and anything right through the heart. Just like I'm about to do right here with you, exclaimed Sasuke with his Sharingan eyes active and saw the elemental gates surround Naruto. Let him try his attack on me. It will be amusing, ordered Naruto with the 4 shinobi around him stepped away and saw Sasuke grinning manically at him. "Time to die." "Rikiri," replied Sasuke before charging at Naruto at high speed. One of the few things Kakashi taught him in order to perform the jutsu effectively, and was upon Naruto in moments. Only for Naruto to grab the offending limb at the last moment. The tip of the lightning blade Sasuke had created a few inches from his chest, and wasn't budging despite the Uchiha's attempts to drive the tip into his flesh. Naruto watched with a look of boredom on his face, as he saw Sasuke's Sharingan eyes spinning, and trying to move his arm forward to pierce the massive muscled flesh in front of him. "So weak. Itachi was foolish to let you live. It's clear the reason he spared you was out of pity and seeing such frailty in you," remarked Naruto before he punched Sasuke in the face, then backhanded him, and then punched him again before repeating the process 6 more times. Sasuke's supposed bad, yet pretty boy charms his fangirls loved so much were destroyed by the third backhanded fist to his face. Everything after that was just overkill, and that was what Naruto loved to do to those he hated. And Naruto really hated Sasuke. How? How can you be so much stronger than me? Is it because of your merger with the Biju? Demanded Sasuke with Naruto smirking. A bit. I won't deny merging with the Fox gave me a significant power boost, but I didn't let myself get complacent with the level I was at when it happened. I've been training my mind, my body, and my very soul to get stronger to face opponents beyond anything you could ever hope of defeating. Goodbye, Sasuke. See you in hell, answered Naruto before he grabbed Sasuke's face tightly and with one single twist of his hand to make a very loud, audible snap. Echo though the forest. Uchiha Sasuke was now dead. "Well, that ends the greedy fucker," remarked Tayuya with the others nodding. "Burn his body." The very idea of Uchiha Sasuke having any solid remains to take back to the village sickens me, commanded Naruto with his 4 elemental gates went through hand signs and did a 4-way fire jutsu to burn the body of one Uchiha Sasuke. Now all that was left of the Uchiha were Itachi and the self-proclaimed Uchiha Madara that caused the Kyuubi to rampage through Konoha. Naruto would enjoy the fight that was to come when fighting them. Omake Jiraiya's punishment. Jiraiya was a bit nervous standing before his godson, who was glowering at him, and saw Shizuka standing beside him doing the same amount of glowering too. When he had been summoned to see Naruto, Jiraiya assumed the boy wanted some additional training, or the boy himself wanted to show him something new. Hell, for all Jiraiya knew, Naruto had wanted one of his future's wives, or current concubines to pose for the Sannin to create inspiration in writing the next Ica Paradise book. But sadly, those hopes were destroyed and completely annihilated when seeing Naruto's angry face along with Shizuka's own. It took him a moment to remember where he had seen the headband on the Kunoichi's head, and when Jiraiya did, his eyes widened in a bit of disbelief. "So, Shizuka-chan here told you about the arranged marriage, I see," stated Jiraiya while laughing nervously while rubbing the back of his head. "Yes. I am curious though as to why you didn't tell me about such an arrangement you made with her village, Jiraiya. Surely something like an arranged marriage was important enough to warrant my attention, and you would have the decency, as my godfather, to I don't know. Tell me," exclaimed Naruto angrily with his fist coming down hard, and the sound echoed his displeasure. "It slipped my mind. Honest. I was going to tell you about it, Naruto. I swear," protested Jiraiya while laughing with even more nervousness when Naruto leaned forward with his crimson eyes burning with rage. "When exactly would that have been?" demanded Naruto with Jiraiya looking away. "I was thinking along the lines of my deathbed right before I croaked," whispered Jiraiya, as he twiddled his thumbs and glanced at Naruto like a child being scolded by a parent. Strange how the age factor between the two made the Sannin look all the more pathetic to the eyes watching him. "And what makes you think I would allow you to die on your deathbed after doing that to me?" questioned Naruto, with Jiraiya looking uneasy. "Well, it's not like I hooked you up with an ugly woman. She's a babe. I mean, look at her figure. Look at her breasts. You got to love the breasts, Naruto," countered Jiraiya, as his perverted tendencies kicked in and drooled at the sight of Shizuka's body. "Pervert," yelled Shizuka, as she threw kunai after kunai at Jiraiya, and saw him dodge them all in a comedic fashion while in a panic-like state. "Fortunately, for you anyway, Jiraiya, I have decided to embrace this arranged marriage setup between myself and Shizuka-chan so her village can easily be absorbed safely into my territory. As such, After discussing some things with my future wife, we both felt you should be rewarded for your efforts and show that there are no hard feelings between the three of us, replied Naruto after seeing Shizuka calming down and Jiraiya panting now while out of breath. Oh, what did you have in mind? Asked Jiraiya curiously. A full-body massage by some of the most skilled hands in the palace, offered Naruto with Jiraiya frowning in thought over the offer. Really? Asked Jiraiya with Naruto frowning at him. Would you prefer Shizuka tests out her acupuncture skills on you instead? Countered Naruto, with Shizuka bringing out more pointy objects. No. The full-body massage is fine, as long as she doesn't do it, answered Jiraiya nervously, while seeing Shizuka crack her knuckles in anticipation. Good. Just follow the guards that will be escorting to the necessary room where all the preparations have been made just for you, said Naruto with his smile returning, and his eyes watched the Sannin be escorted out of the room. Do you think he'll like the massage, Naruto-kun? Asked Shizuka when Jiraiya was out of the room. Once he finds out who will be giving him the massage. I doubt it, answered Naruto, as he let out a chuckle, and found Shizuka sitting on his lap with a seductive smile on her face. Speaking of massage, how about I introduce you into my village's style of massage when a kunoichi needs to please a man during a seduction mission? Offered Shizuka, as she ran her hands up his massive shoulders and shivered slightly when feeling how well muscled they were. I would love that, but not here. To many eyes and ears, replied Naruto with Shizuka's smile increasing. The bedroom then, said Shizuka eagerly with the man she was sitting on grinning with lust in his eyes. The bedroom, said Naruto while getting off his throne while Shizuka wrapped her legs around his waist before they were gone in a flash of red light. With Jiraiya? I hope I don't regret this, mumbled Jiraiya, as he sat face down on the massage table and heard the door open with the sound of several heavy padded feet soon following. So this is Jiraiya of the Sannin, said a male voice, which made Jiraiya's body go tense and his face pale. Yes, the Emperor was right when he said his body needed treatment, came another male's voice while the Sannin himself saw through the opening on the massage table where he was looking that the feet of his soon-to-be massage therapist were not even human, much less female like he first thought. No, rather they were half-naked Shokin and half-naked Shokin males at that. Damn that Gaki. He tricked me, thought Jiraiya angrily, and would have gotten himself up or possibly said something if not for the incredibly strong hands from the third Shokin he didn't see walk over to the table. The Emperor's orders were explicit. Give him the full treatment, said the third Shokin male, and Jiraiya was starting to feel nervous. Are you sure? That seems excessive, remarked the first one, and Jiraiya was starting to sweat. Those are the orders. He said give him the full body massage treatment and be as rough as possible no matter how much the man screams in pain, replied the third Shokin with Jiraiya's eyes widening in horror. If that is what the Emperor wishes. Though I didn't take his teacher to be a masochist, remarked the second Shokin male, and this time Jiraiya did try to move, but was once again kept down by the third, and felt a sudden chill run up his spine. Don't worry yourself, Jiraiya of the Sannin. By the time we get through with massaging your body, you'll feel like a new man, and better than ever, stated the first Shokin male, while Jiraiya felt each of their 4 arms, a grand total of 12 hands, press against his back, and hoped this wasn't going to be as bad as he thought. Especially when we provide you with the happy ending, remarked the third Shokin male, and it made Jiraiya let out a whimper, while the 3 Shokin let out a semi-dark chuckle. It wasn't as bad as he thought. It was way worse. Damn you Gaki, thought Jiraiya before felt their hands go to town on his body. And the screams Jiraiya let out following the massage echoed throughout the entire area of the palace. It was also on that day, a very scarred, emotionally wrecked, and wobbly walking Jiraiya of the Sannin made a vow to never hide information regarding women or arrangements to marry women from his godson ever again. Endomake. Quick pause, guys. I just want to take a second to say thank you. We actually hit 2,000 subscribers, and that is entirely because of you. I genuinely could not have done it without this community, and it means more than I can put into words. Now we're setting our sights on 3,000, and if you're not subscribed yet, this is your moment. It takes 1 second, and it truly makes a difference. Alright, let's get back to it. Naruto's not going to wait forever. Chapter 10 on Cloud 9. The shinobi village that was Kumo had a strong, rich heritage. Surrounded by strategic, yet natural terrains with rugged hills and tall mountains that rose past the clouds. It had produced countless shinobi of only the finest quality. Each raikage that had taken office was competent and strong with the ability to defend their village from any potential threat aimed at it. From an invasion from enemy shinobi from another village to even that of a Biju deciding to attack on a mere whim, Kumo was a symbol of power and strength that could not be toppled so easily. Though at the moment, it seemed even that symbol of power and strength would not be enough to weather the storm that was coming from United Elemental Empire with its emperor that was Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. The very name sent shivers down the current raikage's spine, as he had some history with the emperor's family, and had been increasingly worried when the young man had taken one territory after another. Mostly without opposition, though there had been fighting with the elemental emperor, said to be on the front lines when it happened. It was whispered that this emperor was a man, nay a god of some kind, who did not hide behind his soldiers or his large castle when it came to being in the thick of battle. This was someone who fought on the front lines, stained his body with the blood of his enemies, regardless of how outnumbered he may be, and crushed all that stood against him. A true god of battle and war if there ever was one. Not only that, but this emperor had the support of the people, exposing the corrupt in high places in different countries, their crimes against others, and using each sin as an excuse to invade. To liberate the people from such people in charge over so many and to replace them with competent officials that were loyal to him. A large percentage of the elemental countries were nearly his now after over 3 years of fighting, negotiating, and other means involving female rulers that would make many males jealous, and have a certain super pervert dying of envy if he even knew half of what this man did behind closed doors with these women. But the current issue before the raikage was not the young emperor himself and what the man does behind closed doors with the women in his life, but rather how to stop what he knew was the inevitable invasion of Lightning Country, and Kumo to that extent. The raikage knew the invasion of Lightning Country was going to happen. He had felt it deep within his very body that the emperor would invade whether the Lightning Daimyo was guilty of crimes or not. If anything, Kumo's past actions against Konoha, the Uzumaki clan, and Hyuga clan had no doubt put Lightning Country on the emperor's shit list in terms of when to invade. The question now was how to stop the emperor. "You wanted to see us, Raikage-sama?" asked Yujito, as she along with Karui and Samui had entered his office with a looking at the three with calculating eyes. "Yes, I have an important mission for you three that only you three can perform. It will be treacherous, life-risking, and there was a strong possibility you won't survive regardless if you succeed or fail," replied A, as he saw the three frown and look at each other. "An all-kunoichi team? For this mission?" While not unheard of, such missions are very rare and have a high rate of death for most of the shinobi who take them, stated Yujito with a nodding. "Yes. In fact, this mission is so important, it's not going to be on record in any sense, and if you fail the mission, I will disavow all knowledge of our village's involvement in it. The only people who will know the truth about this mission are myself and Killer Bee since he was a teacher to all three of you. Naturally, I will deny everything when accused, and without proof Kumo will be cleared of any wrongdoing," explained while the three kunoichi nodded, knowing the full well that the less proof of Kumo being involved in a clearly sensitive mission like this, the better. "What is the mission exactly, Raikage-sama?" asked Yujito, since she was essentially the team leader between all three at this point. "Your mission, for all three of you, is to assassinate the elemental emperor Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto," answered with the three kunoichi in the room looking at him like he just said his father was the sage of 6 paths. "Assassinate him? Raikage-sama, not to question your orders, but are you sure?" asked Samui, as she was startled by this, and had an idea on why it was the three of them being assigned to this mission. "Yes, it is well known that the emperor has a rather healthy appetite when it comes to pleasure of the female flesh. He has several wives through various marriages, some of his choosing, and others through arrangements, along with 2 concubines that are also his bodyguards at times depending on the situation. Your mission will require getting close enough to the emperor to deliver a killing strike, if not crippling blow to his body. With the emperor either dead or too weak to advance his campaign against the other remaining countries, a plan to counter him, or possibly allow the start of some infighting will give us a fighting chance. explained it with Yujito, Karui, and Samui nodding. From the way you want things to happen, we will have to seduce him in order to get close and possibly sleep with the Emperor, said Karui, as she saw him nodding since that was probably the only scenario he could see them getting close to their target and completing the mission. Most likely. It won't be easy, but I expect one, if not all three of you to get close to him while in that unguarded state and do what needs to be done, answered it with the three. Kunoichi looked at each other before nodding. We'll do it, replied Yujito with a nodding. Very well. Officially, I have the three of you listed as having taken a few days off and ordered you taken off the roster of shinobi to use for missions. Now go, commanded it with the trio nodding once and leaving his office. Konoha Namake's estate. What are you looking for, Naruto-kun? Asked Hinata, as she saw him looking through some documents pertaining to his father's side of the family, and was looking way back as far as the documents would be able to willingly show him. The name of the very first Namake's ever on record. It's been puzzling me for some time now, as I've been going over my father's notes regarding the Hirashin no Jutsu, and the name of the jutsu makes me feel uneasy, answered Naruto, as he turned to face his stunning and lovely Hyuga for a wife. Hinata had grown into a beautiful woman, as well as a strong kunoichi thanks to Tsunade training the girl as her apprentice. The combination of chakra control, mixed with using the legendary super strength the female Hokage taught her, and the flexibility Hinata had been born with naturally made the woman a deadly warrior. Even Shiva had to admit at the show of the girl's power, for all of the personal disbelief she had in the Hyuga's own strength, could not deny that she was indeed worthy of being with Naruto, and accepted her into the fold. You think it has something to do with a certain elder god still trying to destroy you in some way, concluded Hinata after thinking things over in her mind, and Naruto nodding. Yes, I know my mother's side of the family is descended from the Sage of Six Paths and ultimately from Shao Kahn. My father's side is a mystery. Mere rumors and journal entries, and of blurred text pertaining to the ancestry of the Namake's bloodline. While not as old as the Uzumaki clan, I suspect Raiden did have a mortal child to form a clan that would one day possibly combat my mother's side of the family should they ever try anything. It's funny how things turned out between my parents that they should actually get together to create me, replied Naruto while he saw more of the family tree open to him. I would say so. Anything definitive aside from rumors and old texts and journals, said Hinata with Naruto frowning. Maybe. This journal is from a second-generation Namake's, who did his own research into the family, and mentions, quote, a god like being made of lightning has blessed our clan with the knowledge of how to move faster than the eye can see. The ability to bend space and time to move like lightning itself without causing harm to our bodies almost as if it was a natural part of us. End quote. Replied Naruto with Hinata's eyes widening in shock. Sounds like Raiden to me, stated Hinata with Naruto nodding. Yes, believe it or not, the Namake's clan was originally from Lightning Country, but had to flee due to the conflict rising up there, and most of their clan's knowledge on how to manipulate lightning was taken by the first Raikage when Kumo was first founded soon after Konoha that gave rise to the other shinobi villages popping up. After that happened, the Kumo shinobi in that village over time were eventually able to adopt the manipulation of lightning despite the fact it was draining their chakra considerably, while my father's family could use it naturally without the drainage being so taxing, explained Naruto with Hinata looking completely surprised. Really? Do you think anyone knows about this in Kumo? Asked Hinata with Naruto now shaking his head. I highly doubt it. Even if some of the older people in Kumo do know, they would never admit it on account of how the village would look on building itself on the grounds of a nearly destroyed clan and using lightning in a way that is not theirs by any blood right, answered Naruto before he paused while looking at some information that nearly escaped his attention. What? You look troubled, said Hinata with Naruto handing her the document. Apparently, not everyone in the Namake's clan left before Kumo was founded, and had actually stayed behind to join the village in secret. Look at this name on the family tree, replied Naruto with Hinata frowning at the name. Namake's Daichi, questioned Hinata with Naruto nodding and showing her the name of the current Raikage with his own family history. He asked Jiraiya to get simply because the man's manipulation of lightning was impressive that the young emperor suspected made him a descendant of Raiden's bloodline. Now Naruto understood there was more to it than that. This can't be right. The current Reikage Kumo has an ancestor named Daichi, while the last name is blacked out, exclaimed Hinata with Naruto nodding. Daichi clearly changed his last name and didn't tell anyone that he was a Namikaze. The Reikage's affinity for lightning and speed is said to be almost beyond human, that it is second only to my father's Hiraishin no Jutsu, replied Naruto with Hinata looking at him curiously. What are you going to do? Asked Hinata, seeing Naruto looking determined despite the situation in front of him. We will clash in battle. There is nothing that can avoid it. When that happens, we will see which one of us stands over the other the victor, answered Naruto with his wife now wrapping her arms around his massive build. Just be careful when that happens. The Reikage isn't someone to be underestimated. He may be more like Raiden, you know, whispered Hinata while Naruto wrapped his arm around her. I know. I suspect we will cross paths soon. Very soon, replied Naruto with his voice becoming a whisper, almost as if he had foreseen a glimpse into the future. Elemental Empire Capital Emperor's Palace weeks later. Do we have to wear these outfits? Demanded Karui with anger in her whispered tone of voice. We need to get close to the Emperor, remember? What better way than to pretend I am an envoy from Lightning Country offering you two to him as gifts? Questioned Yujito, while she was wearing clothing of an envoy from Lightning Country, with Karui and Samui were wearing very skimpy clothes one would normally see a concubine wear when in a royal palace. Why are you complaining, Karui? You don't have a massive chest like mine causing you back problems, whispered Samui coldly while trying to keep her face expressionless. No, I have a massive ass that is shown off in this so-called outfit, while your breasts are nicely covered despite the size, countered Karui, while Yujito sighed knowing these two had this argument well before they arrived here. Karui had suggested Yujito be the one wearing the concubine outfit, but Yujito, being the leader of the trio, had countered her argument by stating that she needed to be in a position where she could react should things go bad, and call on Nibi's chakra. There was also the distinct possibility that Naruto would be able to sense the demonic cat inside of her body and become suspicious in finding a Jinchuuriki, like Yujito being a supposedly submissive concubine being offered to him for some form of future peace between the two sides. It's hardly comfortable with these damn things in this outfit. At least your ass isn't being compressed by the chest plating used to hold my breasts, Samui shot back. Enough. Both of you. We are here, so look your parts, commanded Yujito with the two Kumo Kunoichi nodding. When the trio were eventually granted an audience with the Emperor, they saw Naruto was sitting on his throne, looking down at the three in disguise Kumo Kunoichi, and was apparently quite bored. He had been seeing people all day today, asking for favors, and aid in areas where his empire that were still trying to get used to the transition of having been absorbed into his domain. His guard is down. His guards are not here. We can attack soon, thought Samui, as she saw Naruto looking at her, and Yujito, and Karui with some minor interest. Greetings, Emperor Naruto. I am Ni Yujito, and an emissary of Kumo within Lightning Country. We came here to seek an audience with you, said Yujito, as she walked closer to the throne with her two teammates keeping their heads down, acting out their assigned roles perfectly, and awaiting for the time to strike. The Reikage sent you here to see me? And who are those two behind you? Questioned Naruto with some minor interest, though he was clearly bored. Yes. He wishes peace to be kept between Lightning Country and your growing empire that is taking one country after another. As proof of his intentions, Reikage-sama has sent these two women to be your concubines, and to use how you see fit in return for peace to be kept between us, replied Yujito, as she Naruto looking each woman over carefully, and yet was still skeptical. You there? The red-haired one of the two. Spin around for me, commanded Naruto with Karui doing what he asked. Yet she moved quickly to cover up her exposed ass that the thong part of her outfit did little to cover it up, and fought to keep the embarrassment on her face down. Is everything to your liking, Naruto-sama? Asked Karui, while keeping her tone of voice submissive while playing the part of the possible concubine for him. While picturing a chibi version of herself slicing up a chibi version of Naruto and then setting the remains on fire before dancing around the fire in a circle in her mind. So far, I'll admit you are pleasing to the eyes, but it takes more than your figure to catch my interest. Are they strong? Can they fight? Demanded Naruto with Yujito looking at him in surprise while the two Kunoichi behind her exchanged glances. Fight, Naruto-sama? Asked Yujito while seeing him narrow his eyes at her. Yes. Can they fight? Can they defend themselves should someone attack them? I like the women I have around me to be strong and capable of holding their own in a fight should my enemies seek to come after them to get to me," replied Naruto while standing up from his throne and walked toward Yujito, with the trio of Kumo Kunoichi now seeing why the young emperor was more imposing up close than what she first saw from a distance. She honestly didn't think that was possible. How is he so fucking tall? The only one remotely close to being that tall right now is the Raikage, and he's a full-grown adult, while this guy is still in his teen years. He might just dwarf the Raikage by the end of this year if he keep growing, and who knows how big this guy is. Down there, thought Samui, as she began to blush for some reason at seeing he had quite a few marks on his nearly flawless body to prove he had indeed been in quite a few battles. They are former Kunoichi of Kumo, and they are both Jounin ranked, answered Yujito with Naruto narrowing his eyes at her and then at them. Yet they look submissive. Almost weak-looking, commented Naruto with a hint of anger flashing on Karui's face for a second. They understand their place in this situation, replied Yujito while looking at her with piercing red eyes. Do they? Challenged Naruto suspiciously while giving Yujito a questionable look and making the two-tailed Jinchuuriki sweat a little. He's onto us, thought Karui and Samui at the same time. Of course, Naruto-sama. Why else would we be here? Replied Yujito with Naruto now smiling at her. Why to assassinate me, of course, answered Naruto before he quickly grabbed Yujito by the throat, while Karui and Samui going pale in the face. Now, exclaimed Yujito while in Naruto's grasp with Samui, and Karui quickly bringing out their swords hidden discreetly within seals made on their arms under the disguise of tattoos. The battle was short yet fierce. The sound of a male screaming as blood spilled, and the helmet on Naruto's face fell to the ground. Samui, Karui, and Yujito panting from being exhausted from such a battle that had violently shaken the room they were in. Knowing they had little time to act before guards came to investigate what was happening, the trio began to flee by heading to the door they had first entered, and were completely surprised to see that the very man they had just killed being very much alive. Surprised? Questioned Naruto before he shoulder-tackled the three of them back into the room with his bodyguards entering the room with him. How? We all saw you die by our very hands, questioned Karui, as she saw how they were surrounded and knew they were doomed. I knew that you were coming ahead of time. I knew what you were planning. What you killed was just a clone, answered Naruto with the clone dissolving into nothingness. How did he find out about our plan? No one, but the Raikage, B, and the three of us knew about it, thought Samui, as she saw Yujito call upon Nibi's power once more, but was squashed by Naruto's sudden flare of power that swirled around him in a violent storm that made the trio tremble in fear of him. You want to know how I found out about your little plan, don't you? Said Naruto. His voice had become cruel and demonic sounding while towering over the three women. I would, but I'm not going to ask, thought Samui, as she saw him grin down at her and let out a cruel chuckle. It's rather easy to figure out when thinking things over. One of you told me about the plan, declared Naruto while looking at their shocked faces. You're lying, exclaimed Karui with her temper getting the best of the woman while Naruto just chuckled. Really? Then how do you explain how I knew you were coming and prepared for your assassination attempt accordingly? Questioned Naruto confidently with the red-haired woman finding herself unable to answer. Then who was the traitor? Asked Samui seeing Naruto's grin increase. Who indeed? Replied Naruto before flaring his power to such a level that the trio passed out from it. Sometime later, Karui and Samui awoke from their unconscious nap to the sound of flesh hitting flesh, the sound of a male grunts, and female moans of pleasure echoing around them. Only giving their surrounds a brief once-over, finding they were on the floor of a very large master bedroom, and a very large bed clearly meant to hold more than just 2 or 3 people in it. What they saw on the bed made their eyes widen in shock with horror mixed into them and couldn't believe what they were even seeing. The man the Raikage had told them to assassinate, the emperor of the elemental empire that was Naruto Uzumaki Naruto, was currently having his way with their team leader Yujito. At first, they thought the large muscled man for an emperor was raping Yujito, and were wondering why she wasn't fighting back sooner, or telling them to wake up so they could help get him off of her. Next, they noticed that Yujito's face wasn't one of sadness, shame, or even disgust at being taken by Naruto like they expected. Instead, She had a look on her face that told the two that Yujito was enjoying it, and had been for quite some time since they were unconscious. Look who is awake, Yujito-chan. Your two teammates are watching me, fuck you silly, exclaimed Naruto with Yujito barely having the strength to look at the two. Release Yujito-sama at once, demanded Karui, as she tried to get up, but found herself chained down, and found her chakra was also unusable from the seals on the manacles attached to each of her limbs. And why would I do that when she loves it? Do you want me to release you from this, Yujito-chan? Asked Naruto, as he didn't stop pounding Yujito, and loving how the woman moaned in pleasure from when he cupped her breasts while thrusting into the woman from behind. No, don't stop. Pound me. Pound this dirty pussy's pussy, answered Yujito happily, as she felt him increase the power of his thrusts, and felt her eyes roll into the back of her head. How did you turn Yujito-sama against us? Against Kumo? Demanded Samui while trying not to look at Naruto's impressive shaft pounding away at Yujito. Simple. I saved her from a pair of Akatsuki members trying to kidnap her months ago, answered Naruto, before he let out a mighty roar that shook the room and came hard into Yujito, with the woman letting out a scream of pleasure from her own orgasm. One of many since being in the room with Naruto. Months? She's was turned into your sex puppet for past few months? Asked Karui in shock, with Naruto having moved to the edge of the bed with Yujito sitting in his lap while still attached at the hip. Turned? You make it sound like I forced Yujito into being this way, remarked Naruto while one hand was wrapped around Yujito's waist and the other fondling one of her breasts that made the woman moan in pleasure. Didn't you? Questioned Karui angrily, with her tone of voice accusing the man of just that while Naruto smirked. Hardly. In fact, after I killed both Kakazu and Raiden for their attempt at capturing Yujito-chan. Well, let's just say she was overwhelmed with the need to thank me in a very interesting way, answered Naruto, with Yujito moaning again, while the two kunoichi in front of them blushing from the sight of their naked bodies. Flashback months ago, Raiden was screaming in agony, as he felt his soul getting slowly ripped out of his body before being crushed in Naruto's hands, and the other worldly powers of Jashin failing to save the man from tasting death. After throwing Raiden's useless body away, Naruto had turned his attention to a downed Yujito, as she was barely conscious, and stayed awake long enough to see him rip Kakazu vertically in half before going after Kakazu. The Jashin priest actually used his crazy ritual that allowed him to hurt others when hurting himself when in a ritualistic seal made from the blood of his enemy. Almost like voodoo, but on a more advanced level, and with deadly results for those that were victims to it. For Naruto, he was amused by the priest, as he began suffering various wounds from the foul-mouthed Raiden's attempts to slow him down and weaken the former Kyuubi Jinchuuriki with multiple life-threatening injuries. The Jashin priest was shocked that despite all the injuries inflicted on his target, Naruto just kept walking toward him, not caring how badly injured his body was becoming, and had walked into the seal before shoulder tackling the man out of it. What are you? Asked Yujito when the towering form of the emperor stood over her injured body. Your savior, answered Naruto, his body covered in blood from his healing injuries, and picked the woman up with ease. In flashback, after I healed her injuries she suffered from those two morons, Yujito-chan decided to pledge herself to me, and we had hot, passionate sex right there on the spot of the room I acquired. We have been lovers ever since, and she has been feeding me information I might like from time to time. Like the one where you three were ordered to assassinate me to cause my empire to implode from within and cause the unification of the world to fall apart. She told me of the plan you three were going to use to kill me, and I planned accordingly to counter it with my clone. Of course, I made my clone difficult to kill so it wouldn't seem that your temporary victory was easy to obtain, and you were never the wiser. Finished Naruto before kissing Yujito's neck and heard her moan again at his affectionate touch. And what do you plan to do with us? You can't keep us here, demanded Karui, with Naruto letting out a chuckle. Actually, I can keep you here despite your protests, countered Naruto, with Karui and Samui frowning from their position on the carpeted room. What do you mean? Demanded Samui, with Naruto's grin increasing. From my understanding, you three officially have been declared rogue shinobi for your actions, as news of your attempts to kill me have already been made known to the rest of my empire, and to Kumo as well. Naturally, your Raikage has expressed his sincerest apologies while denouncing any and all involvement in your attempt to kill me. He sent a message to me stated how the three of you were mine to deal with in any way I see fit, and has of course requested that I return Yujito temporary back to Kumo to have her Biju removed to be put into a new Jinchuuriki. Do you know what my response was to his little request in the message? Replied Naruto with the smile on his face never leaving him. What? Asked Samui worriedly. My answer to him was that the Nibi sealed inside Yujito-chan, you, and Karui, belong to me now. I sent him all three of your headbands to further enforce that fact, answered Naruto with Samui and Karui looking shocked by this since they never truly believed this would be the outcome of their mission. This can't be happening, whispered Karui as she looked down in horror, and then she looked up when she heard him laugh. Did you really think I would send all three of you home? That I would simply forgive you for this transgression against me? Do you realize how many people close to my heart would have been devastated by my death at your hands? Do you even realize the horror that this world would have faced if my forefather and Emperor of Outworld Shao Kahn had come to learn of my death? That it was done by those trying to stop me from trying to fulfill my destiny? Questioned Naruto, with the two kunoichi looking down in thought at what he was talking about. So the rumors about your ancestor are true, whispered Samui with Naruto scowling at her. Indeed they are true, and I can assure you, Samui-chan, he wouldn't be merciful to you in the slightest, replied Naruto with Samui looking fearful, and so did Karui. What do you intend to do with us now? Asked Karui before she glanced briefly at the spot between his legs where he was still buried deep within Yujito's sensitive female area, currently leaking with sexual juices from both of them. She had to fight the blush threatening to appear on her face. Well, that depends on you two. We all know that the two of you can't go back to Kumo, as it would make things look bad for your rakeage, and Yujito-chan here will be more than willing to offer the necessary proof that he did have a hand in ordering the mission to have me assassinated. Even if you didn't go to Kumo, no other shinobi village will take you in, meaning you have nowhere to go, and thus leaves you homeless while on the run from Hunter Nin from every shinobi village, answered Naruto with both Karui and Samui frowning before they looked at each other for a second. Our only option is to stay here in your palace, as your concubines, remarked Samui while Karui scowled with her temper rising. You make it sound like I'm the bad guy here. Besides, Anko-chan and Shizen-chan don't mind it one bit, replied Naruto with a grin, knowing those two loved every single second he was with them. That's probably because we both still have our pride and dignity as kunoichi. Karui shot back with anger in her eyes before she shivered in fear when Naruto's glowing blood-red ones locked onto hers. Are you saying that they don't? That they are just mindless fuck toys to me and nothing more? Demanded Naruto with his power leaking out of him and unknowingly making Yujito squirm in pleasure of having such power surrounding her. Nibi was sitting in the seal within Yujito's mindscape, acting like it had been given a year's supply of catnip. And no, that is to say, stuttered Karui, as she didn't know how to answer him, and had cursed her pride for causing this situation to occur. Enough. Perhaps you should be the first among the two of you to know your place in my house, declared Naruto, as he grinned now, and moved to detach himself from Yujito with the woman whining the whole time. Naruto-kun, I want more, pleaded Yujito lustfully while Naruto smirked. I've spoiled you enough today, Yujito-chan. Rest now. You will get another turn with me later, commanded Naruto with Yujito reluctantly obeying his command and curling up on a section of the incredibly large bed in a very cat-like manner that made her two former teammates involuntarily sweat drop. Karui, who had spoken out earlier, found the towering form of Naruto standing in front of her with his naked, sweaty body glistening from the light in the master bedroom, and was staring down at her with a hungry look in his eyes. She yelped slightly when he picked Karui up so suddenly, freed her from the chains that bound her body to the floor, and had pressed the red-haired kunoichi close to his body while she began to blush a red equal to her hair. It didn't help that one of Naruto's hands had moved to her ass and gave it a firm squeeze, and Karui realized she still had on the concubine uniform on. That the only thing keeping the man's slick cock from entering her was the slim piece of cloth she had on that was protecting what was between her legs. Be gentle, please, pleaded Karui, as her pride had been shot, and was now at his mercy in terms of being taken by such an entity radiating pure power. I'll try, answered Naruto, as he kissed her passionately on the lips, his hands working their magic on her, and the woman was soon moaning from the pleasure, while Samui could only watch them with a blush forming on the busted blonde's usually stoic face. Samui watched her friend and teammate soon lose what clothing she had on before giving herself to Naruto with one prepared thrust that made the red-haired woman hold on to him tightly for a long paused moment. Not surprising since she had to adjust to his size and the sensation of having him inside of her body so suddenly. Still, Karui found that it was not an unwelcome feeling to having Naruto's male pride sheathed inside her own sacred symbol of the female gender. In fact, her body seemed to relish the sensation, enjoying it, and wanting more from Naruto with each passing second. She soon mewed into his ear, the desire behind the sound clear to Naruto that Karui now wanted more, and he had no problem complying. All the while Samui watched with almost hypnotized fascination as she saw Karui begin this lust-induced intimate moment with the elemental emperor and surrendering herself to the man. This embodiment of a sex god made flesh was having his way with Karui. His pace, his thrusts, power, and positions used were all controlled by him. Samui had never thought Karui would ever be dominated by any man, as the red-haired woman had a mean temper when provoked, and always made herself out to be unreachable in terms of having a relationship with anyone. But now Karui had been conquered by this man, this god amongst men, and could no longer say she was a kunoichi of Kumo. Those days were over. Karui's purpose in life now was to proudly serve her emperor, to fight for him, to die for him, and make love to him whenever he wished it. It was at this point, watching the red-haired woman cry out in pleasure from her orgasm Naruto soon brought to her body that Samui truly understood her new place in life, and that she belonged to the emperor now. Just like Yujito belonged to him, and just like Karui now did. When it was Samui's turn to be taken in Naruto's bed, she did not resist when he brought her body close, when he ripped the clothing she wore from her body, and like the others before the busted blonde formerly a shinobi of Kumo, she submitted to his touch. Kumo at the moment. The Raikage was furious. His plan had failed. The assassination attempt on the elemental emperor had ended in spectacular failure. How he didn't know, but the Raikage did know that the emperor now had ammunition needed to invade, and it could do nothing to stop the man from invading Lightning Country and come for him here in Kumo. To further add insult to injury of his pride as a shinobi and his village's pride were 3 headbands with the Kumo insignia on it lying on his desk with a note on the middle one. You failed, Raikage. They belong to me now. Emperor Naruto, the Conqueror. Damn you, Gaki. Damn you, exclaimed before smashing his desk in two with his fist. War would soon be upon him. Chapter 11 Rolling Thunder. News spread of Uchiha Sasuke's attempt at abandoning the village a second time after his failed attempt with his accomplice Hatake Kakashi to take the seat from Tsunade, using the Sharingan the copycat ninja possessed to nominate Sasuke once she retired. The action was considered an act of treason against the Hokage, followed with Sasuke being charged with desertion of his village as a whole, and was killed during his attempt at escaping by Naruto himself. As for Kakashi, he was killed by Tsunade publicly in front of the village, and it was no surprise to the Hokage a good portion of the village protested the act. Kakashi himself had been sent to Ibiki to ensure every jutsu he learned in his life was recorded, how to use them, and any other dirty secrets the man kept while serving under the late Sandaime Hokage. Naruto himself had come to deliver the killing blow to the man. The crowd was booing him, of course, saying he was a monster, and had no right to kill the Yondaime Hokage's last student despite Naruto himself being the Yondaime's son. Fools all of them. Still, Naruto paid them no mind as he moved to bring his wrath hammer down upon Kakashi, who glared up him defiantly with his one remaining eye due to the loss of the Sharingan in the other after Tsunade ripped it out, and crushed the optic organ prior to his execution day. The crowd had gotten louder and more active when Kakashi was about to be killed. Some Leaf Shinobi were among the crowd too, and were old AMBU friends of the son of the White Fang. They silently stirred up trouble for Naruto and Tsunade by whispering into the ears of people to make them protest this action. It's not fair, some of the shinobi whispered to the people around them. Kakashi was loyal to the Sandaime, was loyal to the Yondaime, was the Yondaime student. He shouldn't charged with treason. The demon brat should be killed. It kept going on and on until the crowd was believing what was spoken in secret and tried to rush the execution stage. The end result was Naruto swinging his wrath hammer down on the ground in front of the swarming mob of people, causing the massive earth-shaking moment to literally make everyone trip under their own 2 feet. With the mob of people now silenced for a good long moment at seeing the boy-turned-man whom they all hated unleash his power on them. It still shocked them even now that the brat would have the actual nerve to stand up against them, since they clearly made it known how they felt about Naruto and gave the distinct impression that they would always be better than him. They also believed Naruto would turn on them due to the conditioning the Sandaime Hokage had secretly assured people would prevent the brat from ever using that power on the village. Or rather, to be more precise, on the village populace, and that they could put the boy down so long as it didn't cripple his purpose in defending Konoha from outside threats. When Naruto had proclaimed himself emperor, many felt secure knowing that with the brat away from the village, yet in a position of power they could control, the village was safe, and all their past sins against the brat would be wiped clean. They should have known better after all this time. Naruto had not forgotten, nor did he forgive them either. It was simply a means of biding his time and acting on his terms. While he would have liked to wait a little longer after killing Kakashi for his multiple betrayals, now was as good as any to get the message across to Konoha, and would be one they never would forget for centuries to come. Don't mess with Uzumaki Naruto or anyone of his bloodline. Naruto had been merciless in his killing of the people that had dared move against him in his act of killing the traitorous Konoha shinobi. The emperor of an ever-growing empire had torn through them all, leaving none alive that dared to oppose him, and made sure the deaths these people suffered were bloody and violent. When it was over, Naruto calmly walked back to the execution stage, his body now drenched in blood and covered in gore, while looking at the terrified Hatake Kakashi currently shaking in fear of him. Do you see now, Kakashi? Do you see why it is unwise to anger me? To provoke me? To manipulate and spurn me like you along with a good portion of the village did when I was a mere child? You knew I was the Yandaime's son. You knew. And yet you chose to follow the Sandaime Hokage's actions in trying to control me. You chose to train Sasuke all those years ago over me when I needed your help for the Chunin exams. You had the nerve to think I would fail, and your reputation deserved to be spared that humiliation you thought would be felt when I fighting to Neji. You just assumed I would lose, never even considering the idea of training me regardless of the situation, and saying at least I tried to train you before you threw in the towel. No, you jumped the gun. You cut your losses, and in the end you lost twice over with me achieving so much in such a short time. No thanks to you, said Naruto calmly, while Kakashi looked up at him with his one pleading eye. And Naruto, please. Why you have to understand I had to do what I thought was best for me in that situation, replied Kakashi while Naruto's crimson eyes glowed with an almost primal fury. You chose poorly in the field of making choices, Hatake. Of course, it wouldn't be the first time this happened, stated Naruto, as he brought his wrath hammer up above his head, and Kakashi knew his end was seconds away. Naruto, I'm sorry. I really mean it. I should have been a better sensei to you. A better person. I should have done what was right and not what the Sandaime wanted, stated Kakashi while staring up at his sensei's son and saw him looking down at him for a second before bringing it down on the Jounin's skull. Apology accepted, Hatake Kakashi, replied Naruto before leaving the execution stand and heading home in Konoha to wash everything off his body. Akatsuki HQ. We have news about Konoha and what is going on inside their walls, said Pain with the other remaining members of the Akatsuki having assembled for this meeting. Sadly for them, all that remained of their highest-ranking members were Itachi, Kisame, Pain, Konan, Zetsu, and Tobi appearing in the holograms that allowed them to be there no matter their current location. What news could be so important that we need to meet? Konoha doesn't have what we need, and their daimyo of this growing empire has acquired several Jinchuuriki under his command from other villages, said Kisame irritably with Pain looking at him for a few seconds before focusing on the collective group. Uchiha Sasuke and Hatake Kakashi are dead, killed by the Kyuubi Jinchuuriki himself, stated Pain while everyone stayed silent and all eyes turned to Itachi. How? Asked Itachi calmly, though there was an edge in his voice. Apparently, your brother conspired with Hatake to take the position of Hokage using the Sharingan and the copycats to cast a genjutsu that would make her appoint Sasuke the next Hokage upon retirement. When that failed, Naruto hunted down Sasuke when your brother attempted to flee, and the brief fight resulted in the death of the Uchiha. Kakashi died days later on the execution grounds along with civilians and some shinobi protesting the action while going into a riot. A riot which the proclaimed emperor of the Elemental Empire put down personally by killing them all before Kakashi was the last to die by his hands that day. Explained Pain with Itachi's eyes narrowed and his fists clenched. I see. My foolish little brother made a foolish move on his end, replied Itachi while he cursed Naruto for doing this to him and ruining his plans for redeeming his clan using Sasuke to wash the hate away. Yes, and he's paid for it with his life. No heirs to his name. Apparently, your brother felt the idea of having progeny that would one day surpass him was stupid and wanted to become the only Uchiha in existence with a lifespan of an immortal god, said Pain with Itachi, saying nothing for a moment. So he died a virgin too. That sucks on multiple levels. Dying is one thing, but dying a virgin regardless of your sexual preferences is just sad, remarked Kisame with Itachi glaring at him now and made the former swordsman flinch. Toby isn't a virgin. Toby is a good boy and gets laid many times. With many women, exclaimed Toby excitedly. Enough, Toby. The loss of 4 of our members in the time since the Kyuubi Jinchuuriki ascended to the throne of daimyo and then emperor has caused us many setbacks. If we don't change things soon, the chances of us achieving our goals will be lost, and that is something we cannot afford. Therefore, we must focus on the main threat now and work our way down to the others since they will not cause us as many problems in the future. Itachi, Kisame, you two will target the Kyuubi Jinchuuriki yourselves. You were able to hold your own against him years ago before Jiraiya came and interfered with your mission. With your combined strength and proper teamwork, I am confident you will succeed in defeating him, said Pain with Itachi and Kisame nodding. What about the Kyuubi itself? I heard some rumors about the brat absorbing it into his body and merging with the Biju. Will it make extracting the beat difficult? Questioned Kisame with Pain being silent for a moment. Unknown. It might make it easier or harder. We won't really know for certain until the Jinchuuriki is brought here to extract the Biju. Now go, commanded Pain with the two nodding and left with their holograms dying out. When the meeting ended, Pain walked back to his office with Conan beside him, and it was clear the woman was concerned. You have yet to decide on whether to take the Elder God's offer or not to kill your own cousin, stated Conan with Pain stopping and turned to look at her. I know. Even if I do, there is no guarantee the Elder God Raiden will honor the deal like I think he should. For all I know, he will simply raise the dead and leave me with undead kinsmen walking around. The gods of the past are known for making promises, but fulfill them in their own twisted way, and to assume otherwise would not be the smart thing to do, replied Pain before Het kept walking. So the answer is no, stated Conan with Pain not stopping this time. Correct, replied Pain in a tone that told her to drop it. Good. That means there is still something left of Nagato behind this form he calls Pain, thought Conan while walking beside him. Lightning Country Kumo weeks later. The brat invaded Lightning Country? Exclaimed the Raikage of Kumo angrily, while one of his ANBU in the room nodded quickly with his current appearance looking like he just escaped a war zone. Yes, Raikage-sama. I just barely escaped the battle. The Namikaze revealed what you did and found several of the nobles in Lightning Country were pilfering funds from various villages in need of financial support. Added that those places were in need of food, clean water, and getting dangerously low on medical supplies reached the emperor's ears. He felt it was more than enough of a reason to invade, and apparently found evidence of the Lightning Daimyo allowing it in exchange for being bribed a nice sum from the funds taken by the nobles, explained the Kumo ANBU, and saw the Raikage looking pissed off about this. Where is B? Asked with the ANBU looking nervous. He was fighting the emperor one-on-one when I last saw him. They were really shaking things up around them, Raikage-sama. I would have stayed, but be said to come back here to give you a report on the situation, answered the ANBU with a gritting his teeth in anger. How was he faring? Asked with the Kumo ANBU looking uncertain. It's hard to tell, Raikage-sama. They were really hitting each other with everything they had. The emperor himself looked like he was enjoying the fight, and in a way, I think B was too. At the time, the battle could have gone either way between them, but to be honest, Raikage-sama, I think the emperor will win, answered the Kumo Enbu with A's fists tightening to the point where his fingernails drew blood. Prepare all Kumo shinobi for battle. Everyone, from Enbu to Genin. We are going to fight and take this emperor down now. Even if I force him to retreat for the moment, it will show that Kumo and Lightning Country are not easy to take from its owners, said with the Enbu bowing at the order and left. With Naruto and B. Naruto grinned as he tackled Killer Bee into a wall and began punching the man in the ribs while hearing them crack under the power of each blow. Killer Bee countered with his own hits to Naruto's face and stomach that sent the Emperor back several feet. The swords Killer Bee used were scattered all around the battlefield, as the Emperor's own Wrath Hammer was lying end first on the ground and out of reach to be used. Naruto didn't care though, as he was enjoying this fight, which was a rare thing to get in terms of length and the opponent's own strength. Up until now, the fights with other shinobi and samurai were always short-lived compared to now. Granted, Killer Bee was a Jinchuuriki of the Eight Tails and had long since mastered the Biju's power. Unfortunately for Killer Bee, Naruto had merged with his Biju and the power of the fox now belonged to him. It made Naruto stronger, faster, increased endurance, and the sheer power behind his body was greater than Killer Bee's own. Even with the eight-tailed Biju backing the rapping Kumo shinobi, it wouldn't be enough to handle a battle-hardened warrior like Naruto, and the Namikaze showed that in their fighting. You're strong, Killer Bee. Kumo trained you well. With your brother being Raikage, I am not surprised your treatment there was better than mine, commented Naruto, as he kept up the assault and saw the heavily panting Killer Bee nodding. The man's shades had broken and fell off his face. You are as strong as they say. I am not surprised you can hold me at bay, but don't you dare underestimate me, for I am the great Killer Bee. You see, rapped Killer Bee while Naruto chuckled after taking a high kick to the face and spat out some blood. I do indeed see. I also see you are standing on your last leg. I admire your strength and determination, so I will give you this offer to surrender. I don't want to kill you as we are kindred spirits given what you hold and I once did in the past. I have no intention of killing everything in this country once I bring it into my empire. I am uniting the world under my rule, bringing justice to places that need it, and punishing the corrupt like the ones in Lightning Country. Your brother sent 3 kunoichi to kill me not that long ago, which I took offense to, and one of the reasons I'm invading now. Another is the corrupt nobles Lightning Country possesses, and the fact the Lightning Daimyo was bribed to allow certain places to suffer while being drained financially. Is that the kind of place you want to live in, Killer Bee? A country filled with the corrupt? A country where the nobles bribe the ruler of the country to drain life and happiness from towns and villages that need such financial stability to get necessary supplies to live, declared Naruto with Bee looking at him while silently hearing what was being told. Bro wouldn't do that. What you say is whack, said Killer Bee with Naruto smirking at him. Ni Yujito told me the plan when she, Karui, and Samui arrived at my home under the disguise of a peace offering. Karui and Samui were wearing concubine-based clothing to make sure they could get close to me. Didn't you find it weird that they weren't in Kumo recently? Countered Naruto with Bee's eyes narrowing while not saying anything. In truth, Killer Bee was told by his brother what had happened to the 3, but he did not believe it until they produced their headbands and the message from the Emperor himself. Bee had lost his temper and yelled at A for being an idiot, which was a rarity to happen, and even more when none of it involved rapping. As for a few of the nobles Lightning Country doing their corrupt thing, Killer Bee didn't care about that since there was always corruption and believed the Lightning Daimyo would take care of it. Though hearing the Lightning Daimyo had a hand in it made Killer Bee question whether this was a long time coming in terms of retribution via karma for past sins they had done in the past to the Uzumaki and Hyuga clan. Naruto had come to Lightning Country with a purpose and was hitting the mark dead on so far with Bee being pushed to the limit. My bro isn't going to take this lightly, remarked Bee with Naruto smirking at him. He shouldn't have tried to assassinate me. He shouldn't have tried to kidnap my mother or Hinata-chan in the past. Those Lightning Country nobles shouldn't be oppressing their people, and you shouldn't follow a brother of a Raikage who allows almost all these things to happen, replied Naruto, while Bee shook his head since he didn't want to believe his brother was a bad guy. Even if some of the decisions he made were just that. Bad. What do you want, bro? Surely the fighting can stop if you say no? Questioned Bee with Naruto's smile leaving him and becoming deadly serious. You know what I want. You know what needs to be done. Lightning Country and Kumo will be absorbed into the Empire. A strong, loyal regent of my choice will be put in place, and if I wish it, I can still be the Raikage of Kumo should I deem him still worthy of it, explained Naruto with B looking at him dead in the eyes. Before B could even respond, A appeared looking pissed off, and his army of Kumo shinobi were behind him. Naruto turned his head to look at A, and then looked at B with a smile on his masked face. You little shit. Did you really think I would let you get away with this? That I would not stop you with all the power in my body and every Kumo shinobi under my command? Bellowed A while focusing on Naruto. Of course not. You wouldn't be much of a Raikage if you just rolled over and died at the first sign of invasion, remarked Naruto with his lightning armor on and moving to take the other man's head off with one swing. Only for Naruto to catch the fist and flinching slightly from the impact with the lightning attacking his body. Grinning further, Naruto let his power flow over him, causing a red demonic cloak to cover his body. The injuries he got from B were healing, and the aura fluxed wildly in a fiery-like manner. B gapped like a fish while he snarled and felt his skin was being burned off despite his lightning armor protecting his body from harm. The two soon got into an all-out taijutsu/grappling battle to the death. The need to use jutsus or weapons didn't even cross their minds. Around them, Kumo's forces were engaging Naruto's own shinobi forces, and at first the Kumo shinobi were holding their own, until the extra muscle came crashing into the conflict in the form of the ever-fanatical Kagaya Kimimaro slicing through his enemies. Anko with her giant snake summons. Naruto had a long talk with Snake Boss summons Manda after Anko summoned him a days following Orochimaru's death, and Ni Yujito using the Nibi's chakra. The last one surprised the Kumo shinobi the most, as they didn't expect this at all, and to see the Kunoichi now wearing the symbol of the Emperor on her headband instead of their own had a devastating hit on their morale. As for Naruto and A, the two were now competing in a match of strength, their hands grabbing the other, trying to push their enemy back, and their powers clashing violently against them. Their faces were barely an inch from the other, and felt the power from the opposition attack them, with the lightning armor attacking Naruto, while Naruto's demonic fire, like aura covering his body, attacked A. The ground splintered beneath them, and their roars echoed throughout the battlefield with nothing else around them meaning anything in their minds. You won't win here. I won't let you, exclaimed A, as he pushed Naruto back a step, and the young emperor flared his power before pushing back with strength of his own. Fool, I've already won Raikage. The people here will not suffer under my rule. Your corrupt daimyo will fall, and you, my distant kin on my father's side, will fall along with him, exclaimed Naruto with a looking surprised at being called kin of the late Hokage of Konoha. What are you talking about, boy? Demanded A, as he was being pushed back and felt his strength weakening. So you don't know? You have the blood of a Namikaze in you. It explains your ability to move so fast like a god, though in a different manner than my father. It's why the two of you can move fast on an almost equal level. The Namikaze ancestral home is where Kumo is now and was taken from the clan during the formation of the shinobi villages for the tactical advantages the natural defenses of the terrain provided, said Naruto before breaking the deadlock between them and began smashing his fists against the lightning armor. You lie? You're trying to get into my head, challenged A, as he countered Naruto's hit to the face with one of his fists hitting the Emperor with enough force to send his helmet off his head. I found proof in my clan home. Your ancestor was Namikaze Daichi, who stayed in Kumo in secret and started a new life in the village, replied Naruto before he head-butting the man in the face. If what you say is true, then I'm entitled to know your father's infamous jutsus he created during the last war, replied A with Naruto smirking. True, if I wished it, but as the Yandame's only son and rightful heir to both the clans, I say you will never get them to the end of time, exclaimed Naruto before laughing at A, who looked livid and realized that the younger man was right. The two jutsus the Raikage wanted were indeed Naruto's birthright and his to do with as he saw fit. Even now, the decree he just made about them basically banned A from ever having them in his possession and learning them for his own use. Even if Naruto died, the way he phrased the ban itself had covered the issue, so it couldn't have either with the Rasengan, or even the Hiraition no jutsu used to decimate Iwa years ago. Damn you, yelled A, as he tried to destroy Naruto. But the Emperor anticipated the move, and dodged the punch before unleashing a volley of his own, and surprising everyone when the Raikage's lightning armor was destroyed after the repeated blows done to it. A stumbled back before being hit by one of Naruto's powerful shoulder tackles and struggled to get up off the ground. B, help me. Stop him, commanded A, as he saw Naruto walking towards him and summoned the Wrath Hammer into his hand. This isn't a fight we can win, bro. Our troops look like they are ready to run and go. We should seek terms for surrender, you know, suggested B with A looking shocked, and then livid that he would suggest that to him. I am your Raikage, and I gave you an order. Now do as you are told, and obey me, commanded A with B frowning in front of him, while Naruto waited to see what the Jinchuuriki of the Eight Tails would do next. That's not cool, A. I'm your bro, not your slave, replied B with A now seeing red in his vision, and not because of the blood flowing from his forehead down his face. I am the Raikage of Kumo. You are one of my shinobi and my Jinchuuriki. You will obey, or you will be destroyed. I have no use for disobedient shinobi, and even less use for defiant Jinchuuriki, exclaimed A with B looking like he was punched hard in the face by all the elder gods. You would actually kill me, bro? Asked B while struggling to get up again, and it was clear the Raikage's anger was getting the better of him. It's bad enough Yujito spends her days whoring herself out to this man like a common slut. But for you to even question me, and consider Kumo surrenders to this monster is unforgivable, exclaimed A while his mind was already assuming that B had betrayed him for greener pastures and siding with Naruto, and the Raikage suspected that maybe the Emperor had even be incentive with a high-level position within the Empire. Don't talk about Yujito like that, bro. She's strong and smart and knows when to follow her heart wherever it says to go, countered B, and was surprised when A moved at him and punched the would-be rapper for a Jinchuuriki in the face. Shut up. Shut your damn mouth. I will not have you backtalk me anymore with your pointless and useless rapping, exclaimed A, as his mind had clearly fallen into the realm of insanity, and his temper only made it worse. Anything else he wished to say was silenced by Naruto swinging his hammer at A's head and sending the man flying before bouncing hard multiple times on the ground. Disgusting piece of filth, exclaimed Naruto angrily before moving over to B and helped the man up. Damn, bro has really lost his mind. He needs to get his head out of his behind, stated B with Naruto smirking at him. Ungrateful. You ungrateful brat. I embraced you as my brother. I protected you from those that hated you in Kumo. And this is how you repay me. Siding with that monster? Bellowed A with B shaking his head at him. You have to stop, bro. Your mind is going whack and needs to be set back, said B with A going mad with rage at being called insane. Shut up. I see now it was foolish of me to even protect you or show you any kind of support on my end. To think I listened to the Yondaime Hokage about how Jinchuuriki should be loved. Jinchuuriki are just weapons. They should not be loved. They should all be controlled, restricted, and know their place in the world is at the feet of their Kage, stated of while B closed his eyes in pain and anger at hearing that while Naruto himself looked downright pissed off. To think you are of my blood on my father's side of the family. It makes me wonder why Daichi stayed in Kumo. No doubt he was a traitor to his family, then as you are to be now, stated Naruto while walking toward A with anger on his face. What do you know? You're just some wannabe emperor wishing to rule this world with dreams of global conquest. Countered with Naruto moving faster than his eyes could see and clotheslined the Raikage right into the ground. And the world you know it is better? Its people weak? Divided? Filled with corrupt power-hungry bakas for leaders? Leaders who let their people suffer and die so they can live a little bit better than everybody else? Or that of their supposed rivals? I will not allow such a world to exist any longer. My dawn as the ruler of this world is fast approaching, and you Raikage of Kumo are not going to stop me from unifying the world under my banner. A banner that will be a symbol of hope, solidarity, unity, and strength to all who see it. Exclaimed Naruto with A trying to stand and punch Naruto, but the Emperor caught the fist and broke the arms before kneeing the man in the gut. Monsters. All of you are monsters, and all that follow you are monster lovers. Love has no place in the shinobi world, said A defiantly while glaring up at Naruto's helmetless face. Only in your version of the shinobi world. Goodbye, Raikage of Kumo. May your soul find understanding while in the nether realm, replied Naruto before bringing his wrath hammer down on A and crushing the man's skull. Sorry my bro went crazy. All the stress made his mind go hazy, said B with Naruto not saying anything for a moment, and the battles around them had stopped when the sight of A being killed was seen by all. There is no need to apologize, B. As you are now the strongest Kumo shinobi here, I'm placing you in charge of Kumo, and it's shinobi for a time, declared Naruto, as his power had rescinded into his body, and let out a tired sigh, while B let out a pain-filled chuckle. You heard my bro, move your ass and go, commanded B with the Kumo shinobi around him, and Naruto nodding before they headed back to Kumo to lick their wounds. Are you all right, Naruto-sama? Asked Kimimaro while Naruto walked a bit sluggishly to his helmet and put it on. Yes, Kimimaro. I am fine. A bit drained, but nothing a meal, and rest cannot cure. Have our forces form a defensive position here for now, and send some scouts out to ensure no potential threats linger, answered Naruto with Kimimaro nodding, and left to carry out his orders while Yujito walked up to him, wrapped her arms around his body. It hurt you to kill him, stated Yujito, as he nodded, since killing family of any kind was something that made him feel as low as the Uchiha on the morality level. I didn't want to, but his heart was beyond redemption. He may have tried to protect you and B from being hated in Kumo, but deep down, the conviction A lived by were destroyed by his hatred of me changing the world. Before I began to change things, it was a man that could not be opposed without suffering heavy losses, and there was no reason to embrace change. But when it came down to changing things for the better, I chose to keep things the way they were because it was all he knew, and feared it because of his own fear of what it meant for Kumo under my rule. The man's hunger for power was also threatened and never left after his failed try to capture my mother years ago, or with kidnapping Hinata-chan when she was 3. There was always a chance that even if A did join me, the man would have tried to do something I would despise and make me regret ever sparing him, replied Naruto with Yujito gently rubbing up against him while purring. You push yourself too hard sometimes, my emperor. You need to relax more, stated Yujito in a sultry tone, with Naruto letting out a chuckle before seeing Anko walking over to them and sitting on the opposite side of the blonde woman. And you would wish to help me relax, I take it? Asked Naruto with Yujito rubbing her hands over his torso and Anko doing the same. Not just me. Samui, Karui, Shiva, Anko, Shizune, Hinata, and the others know how hard you work to bring happiness to the world. You deserve to be rewarded for all the hard work put into it, replied Yujito while periodically kissing his body and moaning from the sensation of the contact she felt with his body. She loved the feel of it so damn much. Then we must hurry. The sooner I complete what I'm doing here, the sooner I can get my reward, remarked Naruto with Yujito purring loudly, now looking at him with lust burning intensely in her eyes, while Anko gave fuck yeah to the idea. They were looking forward to giving him his reward too. Unknown realm sometime later. You have a lot of nerve speaking to me now, Raiden, coming here to my prison you and the elder gods put me in. A prison which I am confined to unless humans summon me for their ceilings and schemes like some pet, replied Shinnok angrily while staring at the elder god of lightning in front of him. Be lucky you are allowed to live and keep some status as a god, Shinnok. Besides, I am here because I am in need of your powers over the dead and need 2 souls currently in your possession, replied Raiden with Shinnok frowning at him. You need something from me? That's very interesting. Which 2 souls in particular do you need exactly? Asked Shinnok with Raiden's eyes narrowing slightly. The souls Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina, answered Raiden with Shinnok's eyes widening. Those 2? Why would you need them unless... Oh, I see now. So the boy knows of his heritage and the prophecy is being fulfilled. Only you want to stop him and the prophecy from occurring. I would think you would have learned your lesson last time when you used that amulet of yours to alter events to prevent Armageddon at the hands of Shao Kahn, commented Shinnok, as he had been unaffected by the events Raiden did when sending a message back in time, and why certain things had changed during Earthrealm's 10th Mortal Kombat tournament. Shinnok knew, as Raiden did, that for Shao Kahn to be stopped, the Elder Gods would have to interfere in breaking the rules, and that only was possible during the invasion of Earthrealm. The problem was, the invasion had to be successful in order for the Elder Gods to step in, and since Raiden's force were able to repel Shao Kahn the first time around led to the events following it. So Shinnok's consciousness traveled farther back than the amulet did with Raiden, with the warning from his future self, and sent Quan Chi to assist in events from that tournament all the way up to Shao Kahn's illegal invasion. The visions Raiden saw from his amulet were also seen by Shinnok, which allowed the events of the past to be changed in Shinnok's favor regardless of the Thunder God's feeble attempts to stop some of them from happening. If anything, the now Elder God in front of Shinnok had made things worse, and the fallen Elder God had been even closer to his victory over Raiden the second time around. Had it not been for various warriors being recruited by Raiden to fight for the forces of good, who had not fought during Shinnok's first attempt at taking the realm, then it would have been his to rule, and he would not be here in this state. I have their bodies, both fully healed. All I need are their souls. Souls you possess, declared Raiden with Shinnok nodding and smiling now. Yes, I do possess their souls, but what do I get from giving them to you? Challenged Shinnok before being shocked by lightning. Do not test me, Shinnok. Do you really want Shao Kahn's descendant to take over the realm and begin his own conquest of others? Or a legal merging between Outworld and Earthrealm? It is possible that can happen without invasion should the boy or Shao Kahn figure it out, said Raiden with Shinnok letting out chuckle despite the pain. I am well aware of how that particular loophole, Raiden. It was I who brought that point before the other Elder Gods many years when regarding the rules of allowing realms to merge, replied Shinnok with Raiden's eyes sparking more with lightning. Naruto has already married the Shokan Princess Shiva, but she along with the rest of her people went into exodus from Outworld to prevent the tensions between them and the Centaurians from getting worse. However, it has become known to me that Melina has in fact fallen for one Kagaya Kimimaro of Earthrealm with the blessing to court given by both parties they serve, and if the two were to wed, said Raiden, while leaving things unspoken with Shinnok nodding, then Outworld and Earthrealm would in a sense be allied, and could be merged into one realm without the interference of the Elder Gods. Namely you, concluded Shinnok with Raiden scowling at him. I cannot allow that to happen. One of Naruto's kin won't kill him, so I need the souls of his parents under my command to do it instead, replied Raiden with Shinnok nodding since those two souls could be enough to weaken if not kill Naruto, given their respected powers. Again, what do I get out of it in return? You must give in order to take, stated Shinnok with Raiden frowning. I will give you the soul of Uchiha Obito, stated Raiden with Shinnok looking at him in surprise. The last surviving student of Namake's Minato. Oh, that is rich. The student's soul for the teachers I possess. How interesting. But in order to do that, you would have to kill the man in order to have soul to trade with. And I know for a fact, given my position, that he is not dead, said Shinnok with Raiden stomping his staff once, and lightning shot from the sky to the ground to reveal a chained defeated figure of a soul looking around in surprise. It was Uchiha Obito. What the hell? Where am I? How did I get here? Questioned Obito, as he tried to use his Sharingan to use the Kimui, but found it wouldn't work, and glared at the Elder God standing next to him. You are being made into a sacrifice mortal. You have become payment for the return of your sensei and his wife to live once again, answered Shinnok with a sense of glee in his voice. What? No, never. I won't be your pawn. My dream of reuniting with my Rinchan will not be denied, exclaimed Obito, as he tried to break out of the chains, but found them too strong, and could only glare at the two gods. She's dead, mortal. Nothing can change that. Accept it. Do we have a deal? Said Raiden in a tone that told Shinnok he did not care about this mortal's protests. Yes, but only for Namake's Minato. Not for his wife Uzumaki Kushina. I need another soul, a female soul to be exact, and of equal value to trade, replied Shinnok with Raiden not looking pleased to hear that. Done, replied Raiden knowing he could get Kushina later should Minato fail, since she was an even greater weapon to use against Naruto since her abilities actually surpassed her husband in certain areas. No, you have no right to use me like this, yelled Obito before his body was absorbed into Shinnok's body and the soul of Namake's Minato with the other half of Kyuubi's chakra coming out with him. What's going on? Asked Minato before he saw his recently repaired body appear via a bolt of lightning striking the ground and found himself entering it. You have been chosen by myself to combat a great evil threatening your realm, replied Raiden with Minato looking at him in shock. What? What threat? Who? Who could be worse than the man responsible for causing the Kyuubi to attack Konoha? Asked Minato with Raiden looking him right in the eyes. Your son, answered Raiden with Minato's eyes widening. What? Naruto? But how? Why? It makes no sense, stated Minato, who was surprised to hear his son had become a threat to the world and wondered what the hell was going on since his death. I'll explain it to you before know that your soul belongs to me to command until you kill him, replied Raiden with Minato looking horrified at the thought. I can't and I won't. You are asking me to kill my own son, and for reasons I have yet to be told by you, said Minato before he was suddenly struck by lightning by the Elder God and found lightning-based chains wrapped around his body. You will be told of your son's actions that have brought about my reasons for this. But to ensure you obey regardless of your opinion on the matter, these lightning chains will bind you to me, and the commands I give will be obeyed, stated Raiden before he vanished with Minato in a flash of lightning. Foolish move, Raiden. Even after all these years, and you have still learned nothing. Your actions will be your own undoing. If the Elder Gods do not punish you, then Shao Kahn's descendant will, and if he's anything like his forefather, you will wish Armageddon had come to pass when it did, said Shinnok before letting out a cruel, wicked laugh that could only be heard from within his confined prison. Chapter 12: The End of an Era. The Sandaime Tsuchikage Inoki was a man who had outlived many previous Kages throughout the elemental countries from Konoha to Kiri. He was the oldest Kage in all of the elemental countries and considered to be the wisest of them all due to his fence-sitting ways. He was a man who believed in waiting to see how things progressed, so the best choice in whether to take a side or not in a conflict would be made available to him. It allowed the man to make smart moves when he became the Tsuchikage of IWA and lead the village to a certain level of prosperity. Of course, it was in his later years that the man was able to make the necessary smart moves, as he had been rather impulsive at times and still was on occasion. His back now suffered for it too. All of our guards have been doubled at the walls, Tsuchikage-sama. We will know if the Emperor attacks, said one IWA-NBU captain with the Tsuchikage nodding. Earth Country is the last country left, just as IWA is the last shinobi village not under this Emperor's control. Though I doubt such a thing will last for much longer, commented Inoki while his granddaughter was in the room and was frowning heavily. This Emperor has single-handedly claimed every major country and shinobi village. It won't be long before he comes for us. The only reason IWA and Earth Country still stand independently is because our defenses rival Kumo's in terms of being natural, and we can shift things around to our advantage in manipulating the ground around us. We can do far more damage defensively than Kumo could, and this Emperor knows it, said Kuratsuchi with Inoki nodding and sighing. It won't last forever. He has veteran ninja on his side. Veterans who have been in Earth Country before during the previous wars and can map out the best routes to take with his army, said Inoki while Kuratsuchi didn't look entirely convinced they would fall easily to this foe. How are Han and Rashi? Did the team sent to bring them back to IWA return? Asked Kuratsuchi with Inoki shaking his head no. No, they haven't. That is what worries me the most, replied Inoki since he knew that IW had not treated those two well due to their Jinchuuriki status. It could be the Akatsuki, stated Kuratsuchi with Inoki shaking his head. No, they have been losing considerable ground during Minato's brat rise to power and began his various conquests throughout the elemental countries. They no longer have the strength to oppose a shinobi village, much less take a Jinchuuriki from one. No, this is the gaki for a proclaimed emperor getting to them both before us and offering them a better life elsewhere if they want it. Clearly those two traitors took it, replied Inoki angrily. Of course they took it, replied Naruto before emerging from the shadows to the now shocked Tsuchikage's right. How did you get in here? Demanded Kuratsuchi while getting ready for a fight like her grandfather was doing while floating several feet of the ground. I'm more than just a solid mass of muscle, old man. Besides, I had help from one of my best spies and infiltrators to ever walk among the realms. He knew when to sneak me in here, and the patrols your ninja go through down to the last second, replied Naruto while Inoki narrowed his eyes at him. What do you want? My unconditional surrender of IWA, asked Inoki with Naruto just giving an amused shrug. Perhaps. That way you can still run things here in IWA, and there will be no bloodshed spilled in this village. Do you really want to make the same mistake as the others who opposed me did? Challenged Naruto with Inoki scowling further. Many in IWA would wish to have your head simply because you are Minato's boy. He did kill a lot of my ninja during the last war, commented Inoki with Naruto letting a small smirk show on his helmeted face. Yes, I know, but I am not my father. My father is dead. He died saving his village. He died for Konoha, a village that had forsaken his own child regardless if they knew I was his offspring or not. Doesn't that information ease your vengeful heart? Knowing that the very village my father died protecting turned on his own son? Questioned Naruto, with Inoki being silent for a moment since he had heard the rumors about the Emperor's life prior to his ascension to the throne. A little, but I am just one old man. The other ninja and people of IWA will not be so understanding. Many lost brothers, fathers, cousins, uncles, and more because of your father. They will not be so willing to submit to you as their new overall master. Even with me as the Tsuchikage, remarked Inoki, since the hatred for the Yellow Flash and his offspring was running deep. Before Naruto could go further into the conversation, multiple explosions echoed outside of the Tsuchikage tower, and it made Naruto frown since he had not ordered an attack on the village. As for the Tsuchikage and his granddaughter, they tensed in the belief that the Emperor had somehow launched a surprise attack and braced themselves for a fight with him. They were soon surprised to see the young warrior looking out the window with a frown behind his helmet-covered face and had his back to them. It was only after a moment did Naruto smash the window and leaped out into the village. Instead of fighting them, did they begin to suspect this was not part of the young conqueror's plans for IWA. When they decided to leap out of the same window as the Emperor, they were surprised to see Naruto was currently staring down at the one person they did not expect to see among the living, and in the heart of IWA. The Yondaime Hokage himself. Namake's Minato. I almost don't believe it. Raiden brought you back to the land mortals. No doubt to stop me, remarked Naruto with his wrath hammer now in hand while narrowing his eyes at his father. Yes, I am back, but not by choice. Raiden traded with the Shinigami using the soul of another. Ironically enough, the trade was myself for Uchiha Obito, my old student. The one responsible for the fox attacking Konoha the night you were born, replied Minato while Naruto's eyes narrowed. I've heard of him. He was supposed to be dead. Like you, remarked Naruto with Minato nodding. I thought he was at the time. I was a Jounin sensei during the Third Shinobi War, and I had gotten a mission report from both his teammates about what happened to him. I had no reason to doubt Obito died when both Kakashi and Rin said a boulder crushed most of his body, replied Minato sadly, while Naruto snarled. Do not speak to me about Hitaki. He made my life miserable for most of my childhood, just like most of Konoha. The village you loved so much showed their true colors when it came to how they felt I should be treated, remarked Naruto with Minato nodding, since Kushina had warned him about that prior to his plan to seal the Kyuubi into Naruto when Obito put the Biju under his control to use against the village. I see. So even Kakashi has betrayed my wishes, said Minato with a sigh while he saw it in Naruto's eyes that Kakashi was no longer among the land of the living. All three of his students were now dead. Yes, he did. Kakashi followed the Sandaime's way of handling me in being a puppet and slave for Konoha. The man even attempted treason of all things to get his oh-so-precious Uchiha for a student to be the next Hokage after Tsunade gave up the hat. What does that tell you? Replied Naruto with Minato nodding before his face became deadly serious and was now surrounded by golden chakra. The time for talk was over. I'm sorry you suffered all these years, Naruto, but I have to stop your advancement. Lord Raiden has commanded that I kill you in his name to stop your possible future threat to the realms, stated Minato while Naruto's eyes narrowed at the sight of the Yondaime Hokage in this form. You're using the other half of Kurama sealed inside your body. Impressive, but then again, mine is far more natural, exclaimed Naruto while his own crimson flame consumed him and let out a demonic laugh. I see. No wonder Lord Raiden fears you. Your power is indeed awesome, remarked Minato, though it was mostly to himself. Enough talk. Fight, exclaimed Naruto before charging at his father and hitting the slightly surprised man with a shoulder tackle. Minato flipped back, landing on his feet, skidding violently when he channeled chakra to his feet, and looking at his son with calculating eyes. After a few seconds, Minato moved equally as fast as Naruto and punched him in the stomach. Naruto gasped in shock of the feeling of pain from the blow, which was followed up by an uppercut by Minato and a spin kick to the face. Naruto grinned wickedly at his father. For years, Naruto wondered what it would be like to fight the Yondaime Hokage. To fight his father. Konoha worshipped this man from sunrise to sunset for his accomplishments, just as IWA cursed him just as much. Naruto had sparred with Shao Kahn, his forefather, many times, trained with countless warriors of Outworld, and fought on the front lines of battle to get where he was now. Naruto would finally have a chance to get a real fight. They were so rare. Sure, fighting the Raikage was a challenge, but it was after fighting B, so it was hard to say if that fight would have been challenging from the start. The Akatsuki's strength was nearly gone. If what his father mentioned was true, the real leader of the Akatsuki had been sacrificed to bring about the man's return to the land of mortals to fight his own son. As for the other members, they would either break off from the organization or turn on each other for the right to the scraps left behind. Such cruelty was befitting that of the elder gods. They did tend to do such things when they wished. I'm going to enjoy crushing you in battle, father. I know why you did what you did back when I was a child. I understand it. I respect it. But all the same, I hate you for trusting Konoha so recklessly with my life, exclaimed Naruto before he was in his father's personal space, and with his wrath hammer already in mid-swing, had hit the former Yondaime Hokage right in the chest. Such power. If I wasn't for the fact I am technically still dead, and under the Elder God's command with the Kyuubi chakra mode on, I would be dead already. His own version is more honed, perfected even due to the fact the Biju I sealed in him is no longer sealed, but rather merged into him as one entity, and he can handle the power behind it. Naruto, if we weren't fighting right now, I would be proud of you, thought Minato before moved in close to hit his son again with various combos of taijutsu. On the sidelines, Inoki, Kuratsuchi, and basically every single IWA ninja in the village was watching in shock as the Yondaime Hokage himself was battling it out with his only son in a fight to the death. They never thought they would witness this in 100 years due to the fact the Yondaime was supposed to be dead and never suspected the man would even remotely wish kill his son, even if it was on orders of a supposed elder god. Father and son clashed violently against each other within the center of IWA, using their speed, strength, agility, and weapons of choice to become the chosen victor of this all-out fight. Unfortunately, for Minato anyway, the man had not met a warrior like his son had become in the years growing up, and it was clear Naruto had quite the number of years of fighting under his belt. It was further proven when Naruto took part of a Rasengan his father made to the torso before grabbing the offending limb to keep his father in place and punched the man hard multiple times. Right in the gut to be precise. Minato gasped in pain with each hit before Naruto landed a massive uppercut to the former Hokage's jaw. The impact created from the punch sent Minato flying backward, bouncing once in a small roll, and skidding hard before coming to a stop. His Kyuubi chakra mode was starting noticeably weaken. "Where is the pathetic elder god who brought you back now, father?" questioned Naruto before letting out a mocking chuckle and walked toward his downed father with a sense of clear superiority in this fight. "Naruto, you need to stop this. Stop this conquest of the world. Raiden won't stand for it. He will find a way to stop you without the interference of the other elder gods. As strong as you are now, your strength is not at his level yet. You are not ready to fight him for the right to rule this realm," exclaimed Minato before he was picked up by Naruto with his massive hand on his shinobi attire. "Huh. The Thunder God's ever-pathetic attempts to stop my advances for stability in this world shackles me no longer," stated Naruto before punching his father in the face and backhanding him, with this repeating several times until Minato's Kyuubi chakra mode finally faded away. Seeing the man was dazed from the blows to the head, Naruto threw him a good distance into the air for all of IWA to see, and watched the man crash onto the dirty ground soon after. It was clear the former Hokage of Konoha had taken quite the beating, more than anyone had ever seen him take when alive, and even more so now. "Naruto, you don't understand. Raiden is afraid you will merge the realms, that you can get around it without the Elder Gods interfering. He fears you will find a loophole in the rules the Elder Gods made about the merging of the realms. He fears you will being the merger of Earthrealm with Outworld," exclaimed Minato while trying to stand, but could not due to his body suffering the abuse his son had landed on him sooner, and could only turn over onto his back. "My forefather Shao Kahn told me all about Raiden from their many years fighting each other. The Thunder God always did portray himself as a mighty deity of this realm. A little lightning here, words of wisdom there, but in fact Raiden did not have the might, or even the right to dictate policy. He is and always was in truth, a toothless worm, replied Naruto, while walking over to the downed Minato before stomping on his chest and looking at his father's defeated form. Even if what you say is true, his power is still beyond your own. You need something more, stated Minato while in pain, and heard his son chuckle. I know, and ironically enough, Raiden has given it to me. Through you, replied Naruto before picking the barely conscious man up and thrust his hand into the seal on Minato's body. Yelled Minato, and felt the Bijuu's other half sealed inside his body from all those years ago leaving him. Your time like Raiden's has passed. This realm belongs to me now, stated Naruto before he finished taking Kurama's other half and merging it with himself to ultimately make him even stronger. Throwing his father's body yet again, Naruto watched with amusement to see how his father struggled to rise despite his new injury. The man had determination. The Emperor would give him that much. But all good things come to an end. You are truly surprising, Naruto. No doubt about it, whispered Minato to himself. Raiden spent all this time trying to stop with foolish resistance. Wave after wave of enemies have come and gone, fallen by my hands. You know as well as I do, father, that deep down, I have won, said Naruto while walking toward his father with the wrath hammer in his hands and turned to face the man still on his knees on the ground. Yes, you have won. Against me and soon. Against Raiden himself, replied Minato, as he could easily admit to himself that his son was the stronger warrior and was going to win this fight. Goodbye, father. Your world as you and Raiden know it is about to end, said Naruto before letting out a war cry and raised his wrath hammer over his head to bring it down on his own father. Goodbye, son. And despite everything, know that I still love you, whispered Minato as he looked up at his son and saw the wrath hammer coming down. After that, everything went dark for the former Hokage of Konoha. As for Naruto himself, all he saw at the moment was the crimson color that was red. He saw it on the ground, on the buildings, and on himself from when his wrath hammer descended down upon his father. With his power slowly receding, the giant of a man turned to face the Tsuchikage, who had landed in front of him with his granddaughter and a platoon of IWNBU. Is that enough to gain your allegiance to my growing empire? Will the people of IWA join me now, Sandame Tsuchikage? Asked Naruto, since he knew many of the IWA ninja in IWA wanted to kill the Yondaime Hokage for what he did in the war and just witness seeing the man's end, and at the hands of his own son no less. As for the Tsuchikage himself, he was once more calculating the odds of fighting this man before him, and winning against the impressive beast Naruto truly was at heart. Oshiranoki had his granddaughter, his ANBU, and basically all of IWA here at the ready to fight Naruto, a man who had been fighting his father in combat and was surely to be weakened to an extent where he couldn't take on all of IWA, right? But the Tsuchikage did not become the Tsuchikage by acting rashly like some of the other Kages did, like the Raikage of Kyumo not that long ago from what his spies told him of the man's demise. No. Anoki knew that this man before them was the leader of an empire, and his army was no doubt close by with the intent of fighting IWA until they were killed or effectively beaten into submission, with the survivors joining or becoming missing mean. Even if, and it was a very big if at this point, that they were able to successfully defeated the young emperor, the army the man commanded would finish them all off, and that Tsuchikage suspected the two Jinchuuriki IWA once had would help lead the charge. I think we can work something out for IWA accepting you, my emperor, answered the Tsuchikage with a slight bow, and the others doing the same, including Karatsuchi. And was it Naruto's imagination, or was the woman blushing? Who knew seeing Iwa's most hated enemy die at the hands of his offspring would make the woman get all flustered? Good to hear. Contrary to what some might say, I don't wish to fight anyone unless it is necessary. I also know having IWA along with the rest of Earth Country absorbed fully into my empire is better than fighting it and reducing everything about IWA into a fraction of its former self. Please inform your daimyo that you are supporting me from now on, and so long as he does the same, I won't have to find his replacement, replied Naruto before walking out of IWA with all of its ninja and people looking at him in awe. And somewhere standing on a high mountaintop near IWA, an elder and thunder god of the realm it guarded felt a cold chill run up his spine. Outworld, what did you say, Shadow Priest? Asked Shao Kahn while leaning forward and glaring at the robed figure who was a master in the ways of sorcery, like all shadow priests under his command. I have figured out a way for you to merge Earthrealm with Outworld without unleashing the wrath of the Elder Gods, replied the shadow priest by the name of Tao before Shao Kahn. Explain, demanded Shao Kahn while he along with his other generals listened to this information with interest. As you know, the Elder Gods have forbidden the merging of the realms by means of conquest, and even that of the mortal combat tournaments. As such, any attempt by trying either of these methods would violate the rules the Elder Gods have set forth and bring their power down upon the one who broke their rules. However, there is one other way to merge two realms together that does not violate the rules and is completely within your power to do, replied Tao, while Shao Kahn narrowed his eyes. What must I do to secure Earthrealm? Asked Shao Kahn curiously, while the shadow priest surprisingly hesitated. Respectfully, my emperor, the only way for things to be set in motion is, well, you need to die, replied Tao, who soon found himself swarmed by the Tarkatan demons, forced to his knees, and blades all around his body ready to run him through. Only Shao Kahn's massive hand rising quickly to stop them made the demon warriors of Outworld obey. I will trust that your words were not hint of treason against me, shadow priest. Continue, commanded Shao Kahn with Tao nodding, though the Tarkatan demons refused to release him. Next to Shao Kahn's massive throne, Melina also growled at Tao and had her sais out to spill the shadow priest's blood. My words are not of treason, my emperor. I am not stupid enough to speak in such a way to promote treason and expect to walk out of here with my life. I am merely stating your death is part of a process to merge the realms together, explained Tao, while Shao Kahn didn't like the idea of dying, but was no less interested in how his death would allow the realms to merge without the Elder Gods unleashing their fury. What is the overall process? Asked Shao Kahn while watching Tao for any hint of lying or deception. As you are well aware, Melina is the current proclaimed heir to the throne of Outworld, while your bloodline descendant in Earthrealm is increasing own power there, and has made himself an emperor to rule over the lands. Started Tao, with Shao Kahn nodding and grinning at how his legacy in Earthrealm was carving out his own empire. Of course, Naruto visits me on many occasions seeking guidance and wisdom from my years of ruling Outworld. He was even able to provide my daughter with someone worthy of courting, remarked Shao Kahn while Melina had a swooning look on her face at the mere mention of Kimimaro. Alas, because Melina is not of your blood, she cannot be the one to sit on your throne, added Tao, with Shao Kahn's eyes narrow and Melina moving to kill him. I will enjoy presenting your robed head to my lover, remarked Melina sinisterly at Tao with sais in hand. Melina, command Shao Kahn with the woman holding back from striking the shadow priest, for the moment. While this shocking news is disheartening and no doubt upsetting to hear, my emperor, it is nonetheless part of a process to merge the realms. Not just Outworld and Earthrealm, but also Idnia as well, since it was separated from Outworld ages ago for reasons we all know, said Tao with Shao Kahn looking a bit more intrigued. Explain yourself, shadow priest. I have yet to see the connection, commanded Shao Kahn with his tone telling Tao to get to the point. Yes, my emperor. One of the rare ways known for merging two realms together would be through the union of marriage between sides who are by blood the ones with the right to rule over their chosen realm. As Melina is Princess Kidna's twin sister, she is also by blood able to have a say in what fate should befall Idnia. Seeing as Princess Kidna and Queen Sindel are no longer among the land mortals, Melina is the now sole heir to the throne and realm of Idnia, meaning she can decide what to do with Idnia regarding whether she wishes to have it merge with another realm, namely the very realm of her beloved by the name of Kimimaro from Earthrealm. With the blessing of their union by Shao Kahn's bloodline legacy already ruling there, the marriage would allow the merging of Idnia and Earthrealm together, explained Tao, while Melina looked happy to hear that she could take control of Idnia and merge it with Earthrealm since it would benefit her family. I see. But how does my death help merge Outworld and Earthrealm? Demanded Shao Kahn with a hint of annoyance, with his patience getting increasingly thin. Upon our death, your bloodline descendant in Earthrealm would need to take the throne here to prevent a possible war of unrest. If the young man, who is of your blood, does this, he can effectively merge the realms together to rule over both as one realm. The Elder Gods cannot forbid this in any shape or form, as it does not violate the rules, since Naruto would be the one to rule Outworld by right of succession, replied Tao, with Shao Kahn thinking things over in his head. I think I understand now. Through Melina being with Kimimaro from Earthrealm, my legacy there can absorb Nia, and upon my death would get Outworld as well via being my true successor to the throne by blood, surmised Shao Kahn, while Melina looked like she had been punched by her father. But what will become of me, father? Asked Melina, while seeing the man gaze upon her. You have little to fear from Naruto, my child. Naruto has always respected you, and will not do anything to jeopardize your happiness with young Kimimaro. In fact, I believe your position within my ranks would strengthen through this marriage with Naruto's most loyal warrior, and both will protect you from any possible threats, said Shao Kahn, while Melina nodded, since she had talked with Naruto on several occasions and had formed a family bond of sorts. It was a bit weird, but what family wasn't? There is still the minor issue of how you are to die for this plan to work my emperor, spoke Baraka for the first time since hearing this, and made Shao Kahn frown at him. Fool, I intend to die the only way befitting an emperor of my station, through mortal combat, exclaimed Shao Kahn, knowing that if he was going to die, it was going to be on his terms, and one of a warrior. But who would you face? Who would have the strength to fight you to the death? Asked Baraka, as he had no intention of doing it, and neither did the other generals from the different races of Outworld under his command. The warrior I have chosen for this fight to the death will be none other than Kimimaro, Melina's lover and future husband, declared Shao Kahn, while Melina looked shocked and a little afraid when hearing that. My Kimimaro? But father, he will not raise a hand against you, protested Melina, knowing her lover wouldn't dare fight Shao Kahn in the belief it would drive the Kagaya clan member and the female Tarkatan Edenian hybrid apart. Kimimaro is a competent warrior. I have seen it myself. If this man wishes to court you and still be your future husband, he will face me in mortal combat, declared Shao Kahn, with Melina looking unsure on how to approach this. On one hand, if Kimimaro won, she would truly gain a husband, but it would cost her a father in the process. If Kimimaro lost, she would still have her father, but lose the only male in all the realms worthy of being her husband. It wasn't fair. I will go and tell him, father. As his woman, it is only fair I be the one to tell him, said Melina, with Shao Kahn nodding. Inform Naruto of this situation as well. He must know of what his future holds for him here in Outworld and the merging of our realms, commanded Shao Kahn, as he watched Melina bow and soon enter a portal that would take her to the intended destination in Earthrealm. With Naruto. Are you sure about this? Asked Naruto with a frown on his face, despite it being covered by his own war helmet. Yes, father wishes this to happen on both counts, replied Melina, as she had headed straight for the elemental palace that was once just the late Fire Daimyo's castle, which had gone under various construction-based modifications since Naruto took over. Naruto sighed heavily, knowing that no matter what happened, they were going to lose in some shape or form. Neither Naruto or Melina wanted Shao Kahn or Kimimaro to die anytime soon, but it seemed such a decision was out of their hands. For this marriage to happen, much less the merging of three realms in no specific order, this one fight had to happen. I will inform Kimimaro of this. I had hoped to give my forefather an additional legacy or two through me, for him to see my own children grow up before he showed signs of death looming over him. At the very least, Shao Kahn will die a warrior's death. When did forefather wish this fight to happen? Replied Naruto, with Melina looking saddened by the fact she would be losing her father in order to gain a husband. Within 2 weeks, I believe. It will happen in the battle arena in Outworld, answered Melina, with Naruto nodding. I sense your concerns in this matter, Melina. Do not worry, Kimimaro will understand, said Naruto, with Melina smiling behind her pink mask. Let him know I want him to fight at his very best. My father wants him to fight with all of his power. He will accept nothing less from my future husband, said Melina, as she had wanted to tell him herself, but she was afraid what Kimimaro would do. I will. Go back to Outworld, Melina. Go spend time with your father, replied Naruto, with Melina nodding before she left via the portal to Outworld. If this merging of all three realms does happen, the feud between the Shokin and the Centaurians could return, remarked Shiva, as she turned to see her husband nodding, since he had come up with the idea for having her people come to Earthrealm in order to remove such a feud. Be as that may, Shiva, I believe we can avoid such a problem if we handle this matter correctly. As it stands, the show can have a high standing through you being my wife. If we are to keep the peace with your rivals, I must have a Centaurian like Motaro as a general of my forces and ensure they know I value their race. Explained Naruto, with Shiva not liking it one bit. But she knew he had a point and didn't protest it. She trusted him to make the right decision after all. Elemental Palace War Room. I never thought I would be planning the end of my future father-in-law in this room, said Kimimaro dejectedly after Naruto told him everything here in private due to no one being around this area unless authorized. Me neither. Melina is not happy about this situation as well, Kimimaro. However, she wants you to fight her father with everything you've got. So does Shao Kahn. I know in your heart, the idea of killing my forefather and future father-in-law is not something you want to do. It is something you must do, replied Naruto with Kimimaro nodding with his eyes showing he understood what was at stake here and why this must happen. I will fight all my power, all my strength. When the time comes to finish Shao Kahn off, it will be quick. It will be with the dignity befitting a warrior, befitting that of an emperor, said Kimimaro firmly while Naruto nodding. I doubt he would want it any other way, said Naruto with a smile and put a hand on the albino ninja's shoulder. Kimimaro could only nod at his master's words and went off to privately train, not just to strengthen his body, but to strengthen his of mind as well. Elsewhere, Raiden seethed angrily, his eyes flashing with electricity at his failure crush Shao Kahn's descendant and the machinations of the young man about to merge 3 realms into one. What was even worse was the Thunder God was unable to obtain the soul of Uzumaki Kushina, even when he provided Shinnok a female missing mean to trade. The former Elder God laughed at him and claimed he didn't have her soul. Angered, Raiden demanded to know where the soul was, but Shinnok just smirked behind his restraints and remarked that he should never underestimate a mother's love for their child regardless if they were mortal or not. It was only later did the Thunder God understand that Uzumaki Kushina had sealed her soul into Naruto to be a protective guard against the fox once sealed inside of Naruto. It would now stand to reason that Kushina's soul was within her son, where it was beyond his reach. Raiden, you must stop this. I beg of you. This is madness. Everything you have done to stop this young emperor from succeeding in his plan has ended not only in failure, but has also made him stronger too. You are only making things worse for yourself, pleaded Fujin, while Raiden glared at his friend and fellow god. If I do nothing, Fujin, all as we know it will change, and not for the better, said Raiden with Fujin shaking his head. You don't know that. You are so afraid of the worst possible outcome that you can't see it is happening by your own hands. You push things to this point. You cannot interfere anymore, Raiden. You can only observe. The other elder gods forbid anything else. You are lucky they didn't punish you for bringing the boy's father back to attack him, said Fujin, while Raiden scowled further at the reminder about his plan backfiring. And the end result had made Naruto even stronger. I need to provoke Naruto into facing me in mortal combat. Only by doing so will I be free to kill him without the interference of the other elder gods, thought Raiden, but knew it would be difficult to do it, and needed to push the emperor into a confrontation. Thinking over his options, Raiden realized that he still could by going after one final Uzumaki not under Naruto's command. Uzumaki Nagato, also known as Pain of the Akatsuki. Crush him, and the Akatsuki as a whole would draw Naruto to him, and the holding of several people hostage would force Shao Kahn's descendant to fight him. Outworld Battle Arena 2 weeks later. Kimimaro stood before Shao Kahn, the giant of a man already there, wrath hammer in hand, and ready for battle. The two warriors stared at each other, burning determination in their eyes. This was a fight to the death. Only one of them could walk away from this. The other would be dead and slowly rotting corpse by the day's end. And yet, deep down, neither wanted this. But they had to do it all the same. Kimimaro had finally married Melina. The two said their sacred vows to each other before Shao Kahn and Naruto, with Melina offering Ydnia to Earthrealm as a dowry and to be merged after the marriage was made. While the two realms merged together as one, Kimimaro went with Melina to a private area for their honeymoon in Earthrealm that was provided by Naruto, where the two could be alone. The two lovers mated relentlessly in their time together, resting only eat, drink, and regain their lost strength from their time mating. It was during the afterglow of their honeymoon after finishing their rutting together did Kimimaro ask Melina if she could forgive him for what he had to do in the coming week in facing Shao Kahn, that she could still love him after he killed the only real father the female Tarkatan Edenian hybrid had ever known. Melina, for her part, looked at him with loving and caring eyes, which was a rare thing for her since those eyes were normally filled with rage, bloodlust, and hunger to rip into someone's flesh. The woman told Kimimaro that she knew what was at stake and could not hate him for what was to come. Her father was going to die. It seemed to be written in stone. The way he went out, however, was the man's choice, and who would be the one to end him too? All Melina could ask of Kimimaro was to fight her father with all his power and win by giving Shao Kahn a warrior's death. She also told him that her father, after all these years, still had his pride as being the strongest warrior in all of Outworld, and told Kimimaro her father would give his all in their fight. No pulled punches, no holding back. It was going to be an all-out fight to the death, and the Emperor of Outworld was going to make sure that the Kaguya earned his victory. Kimimaro swore to Melina that he would win, but it would be a victory the man would not enjoy or take pride in. Ever. I must do this. For Naruto-sama and for Melina-heim. I must also do this for the realms. Shao Kahn-sama also wants this too, despite the plan resulting in his own death. To merge Outworld with Earthrealm, thought Kimimaro while getting into a fighting stance. Hold nothing back, Kimimaro. I will accept nothing less from the man who has earned my daughter's heart and hand in marriage, said Shao Kahn, with Kimimaro nodding with conviction in his eyes and knowing what needs to be done. Same to you, Shao Kahn-sama. No matter what happens, it was an honor fighting you, said Kimimaro, with Shao Kahn letting out a small chuckle. Something tells me the honor will be mine, remarked Shao Kahn before his eyes now hardened and got ready for his fight with Kimimaro while Naruto sat in Shao Kahn's chair in the battle arena and would be the one to supervise this match. Ready? Fight! Exclaimed Naruto while bringing his hand down and started the match. One of the most brutal ones in all of Outworld. Kimimaro danced around Shao Kahn, summoning bone-like weapons to his hands, and lashing out at the Emperor of Outworld with all of his fury his clan was known for. As for Shao Kahn, the man had lost none of his power or his physical prowess when it came to fighting others. It was one of the reasons he had stayed the Emperor of Outworld for so long, and it showed with his incredible speed matching his awesome strength. Melina watched with sadness in her eyes at the battle taking place, knowing one of the two men fighting in front of her eyes was about to die. Granted, Shao Kahn had to die in order to bring about the merging of Outworld and Earthrealm together. The man was not going to go down without fighting, and the Emperor rarely lost to anyone. The last time Shao Kahn lost had been to the Elder Gods after they had used Raiden's body to channel their power as a whole. Of course, everyone assumed the man died. After all that remained of him when it was over was the damaged war helmet. But death was too merciful to the Elder Gods, and secretly bound the man in chains to the Netherrealm in the areas few would travel or know about. Even Shinnok and Quan Chi had been made unaware of Shao Kahn's imprisonment instead of expected death. Raiden only learned of it many years later when he was made an Elder God, was defending Earthrealm from the future attack, led by Shinnok following the failed invasion of the Emperor. However, what no one realized was that Shao Kahn was amazingly stubborn and would not let his chains bind him to the Netherrealm for long. Reptile had traveled to the realm that was Hell and managed to somehow locate his master's scent there before finding the fallen Emperor bound by the Elder Gods. Proving his loyalty, Reptile carefully used the acid from his mouth to weaken the chains that bound Shao Kahn to the point where the man could break them. Afterwards, Shao Kahn was told of Shinnok's plans for invading Earthrealm using the army of undead warriors gathered from Earthrealm following the Emperor's failed invasion, and even Edenia's royal family of Sindel and Kitana. Having been around enough treacherous entities in his life to know he had been deceived by another, Shao Kahn went into a rage, returned to Outworld to reclaim his throne and take control of his armies. Once he had done that, the Emperor turned his attention back to the war between Shinnok and Raiden, with the latter losing, and decided to step into the shock of both godly entities. It was even more surprising when Shao Kahn turned his attention toward Shinnok and fought the fallen Elder God over his deception in using him like a pawn. Shinnok, of course, tried to fight back before begging and pleading for his life when the brutality had become too much for him to take. Quan Chi had tried to flee after seeing his master on the ground in such a weakened state, but Shao Kahn quickly put a stop to that before he could reach the open portal with a few light spears to the back. In fact, Shinnok had nearly perished that day were it not for the intervention of the Elder Gods yet again, and how they would punish Shinnok accordingly from there. Raiden had appealed to the Elder Gods to vanquish Shao Kahn as well, but the Elder Gods refused, stating the rules pertaining to mortal combat before taking Shinnok away. It was only some time later when Shao Kahn had left to return to Outworld, and Raiden's arguments about the safety of the realms did the Elder Gods unanimously decide that there needed further protection with stricter rules. If left the way they were, the continued fighting would destabilize the realms, bringing about the apocalypse to all of the realms, and possibly the return of the One Being. And since that time, no one has been able to merge any of the realms. Not even through the Mortal Kombat tournaments which the Elder Gods decreed were no longer allowed. And like all things when it came to the rules of the Elder Gods, they could not be broken, with this battle being the only true exception. Excellent. I haven't had this much fun in ages, exclaimed Shao Kahn happily while his body was marked by wounds and his blood, while even having a few of the Kagaya's bone-spike projectiles stuck in his body for added measure. He's so strong. Even I never imagined Shao Kahn had this much strength. The only one I believed to be this strong was Naruto-sama. Though considering the two are linked by blood, it's not surprising Naruto-sama is as strong as he is right now, thought Kimimaro while breathing heavily, his body covered in his own share of blood, injuries, and one mean-looking bruise to the right side of his albino face, caused by a mean punch courtesy of Shao Kahn's fist. Feeling he needed a means to strike out at Shao Kahn from a safe distance, Kimimaro made a vicious-looking whip from his own spine. However, Shao Kahn still had amazing speed on his side, and dodged each strike Kimimaro launched before retaliating with a few light spears. The projectiles were barely dodged or blocked using the spine whip, but the last action was all Shao Kahn needed to shoulder tackle Kimimaro hard to send the Kagaya falling back and skidding along the ground. But the albino wasn't done yet, as he rolled with the momentum and used his whip by striking at the larger man's feet to stop Shao Kahn's advance for a short time. Shao Kahn, not letting the weapon aimed at his lower body stop his advancement, leaped high into the air, which was impressive for a man of his size, wrath hammer in hand, and brought the weapon down on Kimimaro. The Kagaya rolled out of the way just barely and was pushed back by the shockwave that was produced by the wrath hammer when adding Shao Kahn's strength to the mix. You have done well so far, Kimimaro. No one has ever lasted this long in fighting me. Do not stop. Do not forget why you are here, bellowed Shao Kahn while Kimimaro spit out some blood that was in his mouth, and his resolve strengthening when he looked over at Melina, who gave him a nod that even after all she had seen, the woman was still supporting him. The Kagaya made a mental note to make love to her when his body was fully healed and begged for her forgiveness, even if he already had it. I have not forgotten, whispered Kimimaro while making a lance out of bone around his right arm. It was time to go in for the kill. Then what are you waiting for? Get up, stand up, and fight me, bellowed Shao Kahn, as his power covering him rose around him, and now beckoned Kimimaro forward to attack. Kimimaro knew this was it. This was the moment where the two of them would clash, and only one of them would walk away. Channeling all his strength, his power, his love, and loyalty to those he cared about into his being, Kimimaro moved forward. His bone lace for an arm cocked back, ready to thrust forward and pierce the Emperor's body. As for Shao Kahn, he saw the signs of the attack coming easily enough and rushed toward with the intent to meet it halfway. His wrath hammer in hand, ready to swing it and send Kimimaro's head clean right off his shoulders. Kimimaro saw this, if just barely due to his spars he had with Naruto. The Kagaya ducked low under the swing and leaped back when the follow-up swing happened. The wrath hammer was barely an inch from his nose. Any closer would have taken his nose and a good chunk of his face clean off. Shao Kahn moved to bring his wrath hammer down on Kimimaro vertically this time, while the Kagaya leaped over the giant man, spun around the moment his feet hit the ground, and rushed forward to spear his target with his arm lance. Shao Kahn had used his momentum from his vertical swing at the last second to spin around to hit Kimimaro with a diagonal swing, but barely missed his target, taking only a few strands of the Kagaya's hair in the process, and leaving himself wide open to an attack. something Kimimaro took full advantage of and pierced Shao Kahn's right through the middle of his torso. The Emperor's blood, among other things, staining the bone lance while his mind struggled to not only stay alive, but trying to comprehend the simple fact someone had actually killed him. Off to the side, Naruto watched his forefather's weapon of choice slowly fall from his grip, and life leave the man's crimson eyes. And yet, despite all of this, the Emperor Shao Kahn had a faint smile on his lips. A knowing smile, an understanding smile, a smile of a man who made peace with his death. As for Melina, she felt tears from in her eyes at the sight of the man she called father was dying right before her eyes. This man, who had ordered her very creation, called her daughter, give her a name, and purpose under his command, was dying. And it wasn't at the hands of an enemy to his throne like it had been ages ago with Raiden's own chosen warriors back when the Mortal Kombat tournament was still being used. This was at the hands of her husband, her lover, and one day the future father of their children, once they made it enough times, that would grace the halls of the Emperor's palace. Well done, Kimimaro. You are, indeed, worthy of, my daughter, rasped Shao Kahn before he fell down to his knees, slumped forward, held by Kimimaro before being turned over onto the ground, on his back, and the Kagaya removed the bone lance from the giant man's body. Thank you, Shao Kahn-sama. Goodbye, whispered Kimimaro before the usually stoic warrior broke down crying, knowing what he had done and who this hurt in the process. Shao Kahn, the conqueror of realms, was dead. The conqueror had been conquered. Winner, Kagaya Kimimaro, declared Naruto while his own eyes fought back the tears he wanted to shed, but didn't out of respect for his forefather, and knew Shao Kahn did not want his heir to shed them. The only reason Kimimaro was crying right now was because Melina, the one he loved, had been hurt emotionally by this, and didn't want to hurt the Edenian/Tarkatan hybrid woman in any shape or form. With his decree made, Naruto along with Melina walked over to Kimimaro and Shao Kahn's body while not saying anything. All Naruto could do now was put a hand on the Kagaya's shoulder, giving it a firm squeeze before looking at Melina to give her a look of his own, and telling her to give the man the comfort he needed. Come, Kimimaro-kun. Let's go inside the palace. We need to clean you up, and Naruto-sama needs to address the people in the arena, replied Melina in a calming and soothing tone, while Kimimaro looked at her for a second before nodding. I will never hurt you like I just did here, my love. I swear it, whispered Kimimaro while seeing Melina looking at him with love in her eyes, and held him close. I know, Kimimaro-kun. I'm not angry with you. My father was given a warrior's death. It's what he wanted. In the end, you made him a happy man, and therefore I am happy, said Melina while leading Kimimaro away from the arena. Know that I will always love you, whispered Kimimaro, his guilt clear in his words, and Melina shushed him silently while putting a single index finger on his lips. Enough of that. Let's clean you up, and we can spend the rest of the day together. Alone. No fighting. No mating. Just holding each other as lovers do, replied Melina while she looked at Kimimaro, who nodded. They walked away without a single word being spoken after that. People of Outworld here today. As of this moment, I am your new emperor of this realm. My forefather, the now late Emperor Shao Kahn, proclaimed me his heir to the throne, as is my right by blood. In doing so, I now rule 2 realms as an emperor of both. Yet such a feat cannot be maintained, as both realms are vast, and I cannot rule 2 realms separately. Henceforth, by the power invested in me by my right to rule Earthrealm by my birth there, and the right by blood to rule over Outworld, I hereby proclaim that both realms shall merge into a single one. As I am born of Earthrealm, the realm of Outworld shall be the one absorbed, and all the realms that were absorbed before into it in the past prior to its own soon-to-be absorption, declared Naruto with the crowd cheering since they had heard the stories of Earthrealm with the clean air, water, and good food that you just couldn't get in certain places in Outworld. Now Outworld would become part of Earthrealm through the merging, enjoy in the fruits of its labors, open up new trade, and meet new people in the process. At the same time, their new emperor would be growing stronger in the process, and that strength would be used to help his domain grow stronger. Long live the new emperor! Long live the new emperor! Yelled the crowd in a chanting tone while Naruto basked in their cheering in the moment. Once he was done, Naruto summoned several Outworld soldiers to help him in carrying the body of Shao Kahn out of the arena to be buried someplace with dignity, and above all else, with respect. It was the official end of an era and the beginning of a new one. Chapter 13 Final Fight. Aim was in ruins. A crater where everything and everyone in it were wiped out. There wasn't even a bone or a corpse or a piece of building material left to identify what was once there. What had been there? Who had been there? Well, almost. We need to move quickly, whispered a frightened Conan, as she was carrying Nagato in his weakened state through the trees and running as fast as she could from the enemy on their heels. My paths are still stalling him, but they will not last long, whispered Nagato, formerly known as Pain, and struggled to focus on his using his paths to fight the enemy. To think that he would go so far in trying to kill us. Only because you refused to fight your own cousin, remarked Conan while Nagato nodded. My cousin has been bringing peace and order into a war-torn world. Not just ours, but the one his forefather Shao Kahn ruled over. He is doing what I could not in such a short amount of time. If we were to side with Raiden, we would betray my cousin and betray what we wanted from the start. I won't allow peace to be lost simply because an angry elder god dislikes the method or the person who uses it, whispered Nagato while he ignored the fact two of his paths just now were destroyed by Raiden overloading them both after grabbing the bodies before causing the two to explode with lightning. After the realm of Outworld, Idnia, and Earthrealm merged, the angry form of Raiden had appeared on the Akatsuki's doorsteps. The remaining members never even realizing the Elder God had stolen the true, yet secret leader of the organization to bring back the Yondaime Hokage to fight the new emperor of the merged realms. Raiden had demanded Pain's answer to his offer, but the official leader of the Akatsuki responded with a no, and that he would not jeopardize his cousin's path to achieving peace. Raiden had threatened to crush Pain, Conan, and the rest of the Akatsuki at this point if he refused the offer to kill Naruto. The Akatsuki itself didn't take kindly to the threat and armed themselves for battle in the belief that Elder God or not, they could defeat Raiden if they successfully worked together. They should have known better to challenge an angry deity who could bring down a blast of lightning so powerful it would make the Mad Bomber of IWA green with envy. Conan was able to escape, if just barely, and grab Nagato while the Uzumaki used his paths to escort them out of aim before it was violently destroyed. When Raiden sensed both remaining members were still alive, he pursued them, and was now fighting the paths left behind by Nagato. Aim is gone. Yahiko's body is gone. The Akatsuki is gone. Everything that we have had since growing up is now gone, remarked Conan sadly. You still have me, Conan. For as long as my body holds out, replied Nagato weakly since his body was getting weaker with each passing day. Your cousin might be able to heal you with his powers. If not, he might know someone who does, offered Conan while Nagato nodded. If we live that long, replied Nagato knowing it was only a matter of time before Raiden caught up to them. Lightning sprayed the skies above, descending around the area around them, hitting the trees, generating intense heat, and starting fires all around them. Some of the lightning almost struck Conan and Nagato, but they managed to get out of the way in time before Raiden appeared in front of the two with his face showing just how angry he was. Before either of the surviving members of the Akatsuki could say or do anything, the Elder God blasted them both with lightning. They screamed out in pain from the assault and were being attacked unmercifully by Raiden. You should have taken my offer when you had the chance. Now you two will face only oblivion, stated Raiden angrily, while he kept blasting them with lightning from his hand and ignored their screams. Says who? Asked Naruto, as he appeared from the shadows, and threw a light spear at Raiden with the projectile hitting the Elder God's shoulder. You dare strike me? And Elder God? Demanded Raiden angrily, while turning his full attention on Naruto. Naruto smirked at him. Of course he dared. It didn't take much to conclude who would have the power to bring back his father to fight him. It also didn't hurt that Jiraiya's spies had told him of the Akatsuki supposedly missing a member around that time, meaning Raiden had approached the Akatsuki to stop him, but they had ultimately refused to do it for whatever reason. They decided to avoid such a confrontation. Still, the lightning used by Raiden to destroy their HQ and aim could practically be seen even from Konoha, and Naruto was already headed to aim in order to finish solidifying his power. The Akatsuki were the only official threat left to his rule, and the Elder God, now in front of him, being the unofficial threat. It burned Raiden immensely that not only was Shao Kahn's legacy in the form of his bloodline was alive and thriving despite his past attempts, but Naruto was able to get around some of the rules made by the Elder Gods without violating them, and was stronger than ever. Granted, so was Raiden in the process, but by this point, the two powerhouses were near equal in that regard. After Naruto ripped the other half of the Kyuubi from his father into his body, it amplified his power several times over, and the merging of 3 realms into one just added more to it, just like Shao Kahn if he had been alive in his place. You may be an Elder God, but your time being one has serious impaired your judgment regarding how to protect this realm. I now rule Raiden. Honestly, do you really think your actions will be tolerated after this? Questioned Naruto with his wrath hammer in hand, and watched Raiden carefully. And making sure his stealthy operative that was Reptile had successfully taken both of the victims from Raiden's lightning attacks away from the Elder God's line of sight. My actions both past and present are what protect Earthrealm from the likes of you and your bloodline, exclaimed Raiden angrily. Really? Is that why you secretly aided in the fall of my clan when they were attacked during the Second Shinobi War? You think I don't know about that? That I didn't know you did that? All because my side of the family, when compared to the Senju and Uchiha clan, which are also descended from Shao Kahn, was the strongest and brought out his power, countered Naruto while Raiden frowned since that had been the case with the Elder God. Raiden had indeed instigated the fall of the Uzumaki clan during the Second Shinobi War because he had seen the potential threat the clan possessed if allowed to continue flourishing. Originally, he had thought the Uchiha clan would be a problem given how Uchiha Madara and his clan had been causing problems. But that changed when the Senju clan got them to help form Konoha and bring about peace between the warring clans. Later on, Hashirama had defeated Madara, and there was finally an end to what Raiden believed was the heir to Shao Kahn's throne should it become truly vacant. But that changed when the Uzumaki clan made itself truly known to him, and Mito had sealed the Kyuubi within her body. Focusing on the Uzumaki clan following that event, Raiden tracked the clan's ancestry, and was horrified to know they were a cousin clan to the other two, related to the bloodline of Shao Kahn himself, just like the Uchiha and Senju clan. The difference the Uzumaki clan had when compared to the other two were they had been wild, uncontrollable, and were walking powerhouses not unlike Shao Kahn himself. He alone had nearly brought Earthrealm to her knees when first invading, and it took the entire might of the Elder Gods empowering Raiden to stop him from advancing further in his conquest of the realms. If the Emperor of Outworld ever learned he had a small army of bloodline descendants and claimed them for his own, he would possibly be unstoppable. Not even the rules set forth by Elder Gods or their overall might would be enough to stand against them. So Raiden did what needed to be done. He didn't have to worry about the Senju clan. They embraced a peaceful nature, yet still ready to fight, and weren't by any means aggressive in what they wanted. The Uchiha clan was still a minor annoyance, but without Madara to lead them, the clan itself was weak and no longer considered a true threat even if Shao Kahn found out about them. If anything, Shao Kahn would have killed the Senju clan for being the opposite of his beliefs, and the Uchiha clan for being too weak, while going on a slow decline since Madara was presumed dead after his fight with Hashirama. The Uzumaki clan, however, was a clan of chaos, strength, power, endurance, and embodied everything Shao Kahn would want to have serving him. Even more so if and when he learned they were of his bloodline, with a possible heir among their ranks to call his own. And sure enough, Raiden was correct when Shao Kahn had made Uzumaki Naruto his heir to the throne despite Mileena having that original claim. Of course, now Mileena did not mind the change at all since Naruto was ruling, and she was on good terms with him. Not only that, but she was currently in love with Kimimaro and had no real ambitions to rule over the realm when the idea of being a well-connected family member seemed so much better at the moment. She could one day rule if there was, Elder Gods forbid, no heir to Naruto's throne by blood, and given her own royal connection to Throne of Edenia, could make it legitimate if Mileena tried should such an event take place. With Kimimaro and the Tarkatans by her side, it would at least give the woman the right to challenge any possible contenders to the throne. But as stated before, this was only in the off chance Naruto did not have any children with the many women he was currently with all the time. Your clan was getting too powerful. I had to do something, replied Raiden while the lightning around his body flared. You should have left us alone. You had no right to rob me of a family. Who knows what my life might have been if they had lived. You took so much from me. Now I'm going to enjoy taking your life from you, countered Naruto darkly before he hit Raiden with a spiked shoulder tackle and sent the Elder God through some trees. I see. So you are challenging me, I take it? To Mortal Kombat? Questioned Raiden with Naruto nodding. I am. I challenge you to Mortal Kombat. If I win, the Elder Gods return the Uzumaki clan back to the land of mortals, and they come back alive, stated Naruto, knowing he should be specific in his terms since the Elder Gods seem to have a habit of granting requests, but only through their interpretation of it. And if I win this contest, then Earthrealm, Outworld, and Edenia shall be split apart once more, with Outworld no longer being allowed to claim either one for any reason, replied Raiden while Naruto nodded. Agreed, said Naruto before lightning and thunder echoed above, though it wasn't from Raiden using his power. It was the Elder Gods. The terms have been reached, and they will be honored by both parties. This is a fight to the death. There can only be one victor in this match. Let Mortal Kombat begin, declared the Elder Gods as one. I am going to do what should have been done a long time ago on the night of your birth, Uzumaki Naruto, remarked Raiden with lightning coming out of his hand. And what's that? Asked Naruto curiously. To kill you, Uzumaki Naruto, answered Raiden coldly while Naruto let out an amused chuckle. As if you could, and it's Kon Naruto now. In honor of my forefather, remarked Naruto while readying himself for a fight. The two powerful titans clashed violently against each other, Raiden using his bow staff against Naruto's wrath hammer. Fist to fist, blow for blow, shoulder tackle to flying electrical attack, each giving as the other got. The ground around them reduced ash and destruction. Light spears hit Raiden when his lightning attacks didn't hit Naruto, each hitting the other hard and leaving no room to breathe or recover. To them, this wasn't just about winning a match of Mortal Kombat, but rather surviving for their own respectful futures and believing that their own choices were right. You are strong. Stronger than Shao Kahn even, gasped Raiden with a hint of surprise in his voice while struggling to stand and fight against an almost equally battered Naruto. That's good to know. It will make killing you all the more sweeter when I taste victory, remarked Naruto, who was bleeding heavily, his helmet broken, and thrown off his head after Raiden head-butted him in the face when putting the Elder God in a bear hug vice to crush the life out of the man. You will taste only blood and your death when this is over, exclaimed Raiden before firing a blast of lightning at Naruto. Moving out of the way just in time, Naruto charged forward with a crimson glow around his form and made contact with the stunned Elder God. Pressing his advantage, Naruto jumped high into the air before using his power to dive downward with his knee aimed at Raiden's torso to finish him. Raiden rolled out of the way in time before the attack could hit and teleported a safe distance away before firing a blast of lightning at Naruto. Only this time, the attack hit its mark and caused Naruto to cry out in pain. I will not lose to you. I cannot afford to lose. I will not lose, cried out Naruto before his entire body was encased in crimson energy and negated the lightning hitting his body. What? You were weakening. How can you have this much power left? Questioned Raiden in shock before he was hit once again by Naruto with a charging uppercut. Because unlike you, Raiden, I have people who I do cherish. These people I rule over are not just mere subjects who bow before me. They are precious. They are those I love and wish to protect as well as rule over with my power. You have forgotten what it was to care about the mortals of this realm, or any of the others for that matter. I fight for those I rule over. I fight for those I love and cherish. You, on the other hand, fight for nothing, answered Naruto before he was upon a still stunned Raiden and began to further show why he was emperor of this newly merged realm. When Naruto finally stopped, Raiden had been defeated. Finish him, bellowed the Elder Gods. Elder Gods, why do you forsake me? Whispered Raiden, while looking up past Naruto into the heavens in the hopes he would get an answer. Because they see what I do. They see you are not worthy of being an Elder God, said Naruto before thrusting his giant hand into Raiden's chest, followed by the other one, and with a mighty roar he proceeded to rip the Elder God vertically in half. Fatality, declared the Elder Gods. It is done. Now, Elder Gods, bring back my clan to the land of mortals. Alive and well as per the agreement made, declared Naruto to the sky above. Very well. It shall be done, replied the elder gods as one before they set about their task to carry out the agreement made between the two warriors. With his victory now complete, Naruto's power receded into his body, and he fell to his knees breathing heavily. Slowly, he stood with the help of his loyal subordinate in the form of Reptile revealing himself to the emperor, and helped the man while recovering his strength. I saw your match with the elder god. It was most impressive, my emperor. Your skills are unmatched by all, commented Reptile with Naruto chuckling. Perhaps, but I will not allow myself to ignorant or arrogant in believing that is the case regarding my skills. Besides, it would be unbefitting of an emperor to grow fat and lazy while sitting on his throne, replied Naruto with Reptile nodding in agreement. Shall I summon Senju Tsunade from Konoha to provide medical treatment upon our return to the capital? Asked Reptile with Naruto nodding. Yes, I need her not only to treat my injuries, but my cousins as well, and that woman he was with. Raiden's lightning attack is quite potent no matter who it hits, replied Naruto while struggling to move. Indeed, commented Reptile since he had been among the many who have had the cruel privilege of being blasted by such power from the elder god in the past. It was never pleasant. Epilogue sometime later. Naruto grinned from his position on the throne. He was happy with his family, his clan now brought back to life, an extended family made thanks to Melina. Thanks to their many intense sessions she had with Kimimaro, the woman found herself pregnant with his child. Something that not only shocked the albino, but made him very happy knowing he had helped create a life. He never even considered the possibility of being a father until Tsunade had personally confirmed Melina was indeed carrying his child. The male Kaguya intended for the child to be one of many they brought into the world under his and Melina's parental guidance. Melina herself was nervous since she had always been what many would call a wild, and that's putting it lightly, woman, but this news sent a massive wake-up call to her, and to be a responsible woman. Oh, she was still going to be a badass fighter while being a mother at the same time. Of that, there was no question since she knew there could always be a threat to her children when they grew up. Anyone messed with her babies before they could be properly trained, and Melina would show what a female Tarkatan hybrid could do when pissed off. As for Naruto, it shocked the entire Uzumaki clan to be once more alive once again, and to find out one of their own was now emperor of an entire world after it merged with two others. Not only that, but they learned of Konoha's treachery under the Sandaime Hokage along with the subordinates under his command. Naturally, the entire clan wanted blood and justice for the act of betrayal done to them. Fortunately, Konoha was spared being destroyed since Naruto explained to them that he had already got the justice in the form of killing those responsible for it. Not only that, but he managed to get the other shinobi villages secured under his rule to coexist together. They found it to be a very impressive feat. Among those brought back from the Uzumaki clan was Naruto's own mother. Kushina was shocked to not only be brought back, but to see her son had achieved so much and was an emperor. She somewhat embarrassed herself when dancing around and doing her own little jig of sorts while rubbing in the fact her son was an actual emperor now. It was even more amusing when Kushina found out her son had quite an abundance of females acting as both his wives and concubines. Many of them were warriors or were skilled in some other way befitting their station and were not just for show, eye candy, or being a bed warmer for him. The poor red-haired woman's eyes nearly bugged out of their sockets at the sight of Shiva and how she was among his many wives. Kushina fainted at hearing how the female Shokin had been made aware she was pregnant with his child, and the Uzumaki woman was going to be a grandmother. Speaking of the Shokin, they were once more having problems with the Centurions due to the realms being merged, but Naruto put a stop to that. He made their strongest a high general in his army after they competed in a tournament and tests to find out which one was in fact worthy of the title. However, he stressed upon both races that they would both respect each other regardless of those in position who he favored. Like his predecessor, Naruto disliked the idea of these two sides fighting, as it reminded him of the history of the Senju and the Uchiha fighting it out for supremacy. Naruto wasn't about to have a repeat of such history during his rule. As for Nagato, he was properly healed thanks to Tsunade, and no longer required he sit in a special chair while commanding the sixth paths with his Rinnegan. Not that he had the sixth paths to pain anymore due to Raiden destroying them all. Still, the proper medical treatment, plus the therapy to restore muscle mass to his body, gave the man a new lease on life, and extending it from what would have ended sooner. Conan was ecstatic to have Nagato back and walking around again, with the two eventually confessing their feelings for each other. Well, Conan did, and it took Nagato a second to process his own words. Mostly because Kushina was watching them and decided to give the moment a little nudge in the right direction. And by little nudge, I mean punching her Nagato in the back of the head and yelling in his face to tell Conan how he feels, or she would do it for him. Needless to say, it got the job done quick, fast, and in a hurry. In any case, the two eventually got married and settled down in the newly restored Yizu, where Nagato found himself welcomed by other members of the Uzumaki clan. It had made the burden of past pains he suffered much lighter, and even more so when Conan was pregnant with their child. A child they were going to name Yahiko if it was a boy, and Kushina if it was a girl. The fact Kushina had given the couple an angry look if they didn't name the girl after her when talking about baby names had nothing to do with it. Honest, Naruto never saw Raiden again. While he knew the man had died during their Mortal Kombat match, he also knew someone like him could always come back given enough time. It was only at a later point did the wind god Fujin appear before him and explain that Raiden had been punished for his transgressions by the elder gods. They felt his actions at AIM were in violation to their decisions, and the defeat during the fight with Naruto gave them the excuse to do it. As such, Raiden was stripped of his elder god status, and like Shinnok was thrown into a prison designed to hold the elemental god for his past crimes. As such, Fujin further explained to Naruto that the elder gods had appointed the wind god himself to be Raiden's replacement, and to ensure Naruto's empire stayed fair, yet firm under his rule. Naruto appreciated the sentiment, and told Fujin he would look forward to the now appointed elder god's visit in the future if his presence did in fact warrant one. But overall, things were going well for Naruto. His life was good. He had loved ones, family, peace, and order through his empire. Loyal subjects who thrived under his rule. After so long, the once puny boy, who was hated, abused, and had next to nothing for years, had finally acquired all his heart desired. With interest, Emperor Khan Naruto would ensure his reign as its emperor, and those of his descendants for years to come would keep the peace and security of his empire. And that concludes the final part of this story. Thank you for spending your time here at Ichiraku Ramen and listening all the way to the end. Your support helps keep these stories alive and allows the Shinobi world to continue through new adventures and alternate timelines. If you enjoyed Uzumaki Combat, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future stories. Once again, full credit goes to VFSNAKE, the original writer of this story. If you would like to read the original version, you can find the link to the story in the description below. Let me know in the comments what story you would like to hear next. Until the next time, stay safe, and I'll see you again at Ichiraku Ramen.